W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I gotta know, guys, are people panicking right now with the Bills?
You can tell there's a big reset today when they get back on the field.
Mike Danger.
Denver and Sean Payton coming off of a bye. It doesn't feel like the Bills are deserving of being a touchdown or greater favorite against anyone, given how they've played so far this season.
Gene Battaglia.
Maybe this is actually a good thing for the Buffaloes. They have an extra day here. We'll learn more about the Broncos as the week goes along here, but this is not an easy one for Buffalo.
I'm really excited that we will have the chance to preview Panthers-Bears. Actually, let me just do it right now. Who cares?
Oh, who cares?
Oh, that was a good preview.
We are junkies. Panthers, Bears, but watch anyways.
Don't do that. Dante DiVincenzo. Tommy DeVito. Tino Favors.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Hey, good afternoon to you, and welcome on into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. And you can watch our video stream at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. Don't forget to like and subscribe, follow along, and help build our little online community. I am Mike Danger over there. That's Gene Battaglia.
I hate meetings. Not a fan of them. Like most meetings are useless.
Wastes of time.
They are. They are.
Meetings that could be emails in our world. A meeting that you like, okay, why are we having a meeting when this could have been an email? The meetings where multiple departments are represented and your department doesn't get mentioned, but you're still required to go to the meeting.
Yeah.
Nothing worse.
Or the manager who has to make their value feel known and they have to speak up and bloviate on whatever it is just to make myself look like the smartest one in the room.
Right.
We used to have these ratings meetings with managers who aren't here anymore, and they would just bloviate and be the smartest man in the room. I called it always the biggest whatever in the room. Like that, those are a waste of time. Stop. Just give me the data, and most of us can kind of move on. What do we make of this news out of Buffalo today?
What is the news out of Buffalo today, Gene?
Well, the news out of Buffalo, Mike Danger, I'm glad you asked, although I prompted you. The Bills' offense had a players-only meeting today, led by Latavius Murray. And that's about all we know right now, which you can kind of deduce here. Is it something where we have to hold one another accountable and we have to raise the level of our game? Because I think that's what fans think it is. Or is it something else entirely?
Well, if it's a players-only meeting, they're talking about their coaches, right? I mean, that's why you would have a players-only meeting to discuss what's going right or what's going wrong with the people that aren't in the meeting. A lot of times you'll have a meeting to discuss the people who aren't in the meeting and how you can better work with the people who aren't in the meeting. In this case, maybe your coaches.
And if it's called by Latavius Murray, he's been in this league a long time. He's been in this league longer than anybody, I think, on that offense. He's the oldest running back in the league. He's seen a lot of things, and I would think that what he's saying right now, look, something's off here. Let's put a stop to this till it all gets wrong. So what is that he's calling?
Is it, though? Is it off? That's the question. I'm struggling this week, and I know our eyes see one thing, and the result is they're not winning these games, right? But I contend that the Bills' offense is not the problem with the Bills. You could look at the offense and say they look out of sync or the play calling. There's a lot of subjective things that you could look at and we could debate, and I'll listen to that. But the production of the Bills' offense in an NFL where production is declining, I don't think the Bills' offense is to blame for these most recent losses.
I don't know. 20 points, 14 points, 25, 24, and 18. Does that excite you? Does that say winning football to you? That sounds mediocre to me, Danger. Like, you can roll out any stat you want.
I will.
EPA and all this other mumbo-jumbo. Points!
I will.
Points!
Okay, so let me roll out some of that stuff. I was going to save this for later, but since you brought it up.
All right. We'll just get right to the good stuff.
By the way, okay, hold on. I'll share some thoughts here on the offense and specifically on Ken Dorsey's offense in a second. First, let's set the table. Let you know who's stopping by the sports bar this afternoon. Here's what's on tap in the sports bar. It's brought to you by our friends from Three Heads Brewing. By the way, a week from tomorrow, a week from Friday, we will be at Three Heads for another Friday Football Talk Live Jets week. And here's what's on tap at Three Heads Brewing now. Cranberry Grape Sour Ale. Tart cranberries and New York State grapes coming together to make a delicious treat. Get yours at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue today. Someone who is there in Orchard Park around this team who might have some insight as to what this offensive players only meeting was about today. Elena Getzenberg of ESPN joins us at 4:25.
Yeah, there's some injury updates we got to go over too. The official injury report for the Buffalo Bills will be coming out. For example, Terrell Bernard is going through the concussion protocol. It was out there limited today. In a reg non-contact jersey today was Christian Benford. So we'll kind of get the degrees here. And again, it is Thursday, but it's still earlier in the week than most teams because, well, the Bills play on Monday night. So we'll talk to Elena Getzenberg, and we'll get her opinion on everything happening today in Buffalo.
Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy stops by later this hour. Give us about 20 minutes or so, and we'll help your fantasy football lineup here for Week 10. We'll set a perfect lineup. We do have a game tonight, but watch anyways, between the Panthers and the Bears. Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy stops by at 3:25.
Yeah, and gosh. When Tommy DeVito starts this week, Danger, that will set an NFL record, 10 rookies to start in a season.
Yep.
And there is just a lot of bad quarterback play out there. But from a fantasy perspective, what do you do? Like, are you rolling the dice in Minnesota at all with Dobbs after what he did? Are you trusting Kyler Murray sight unseen just after how many months off just to go right back in and pick up? I'm glad we have Andy coming on because if you're in need of a quarterback this week, this seems like a sketchy week here, but he'll help us out.
Pull up a stool in the sports bar by joining us on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That number is 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. I said it during the off season. And I'll repeat what I said. And I know it may upset you, Gene. It may upset some Bills fans. I am of the belief that Ken Dorsey is good at his job. Now, you could say he's not good at his job. Look at the results. I'm saying if Sean McDermott is telling Ken Dorsey to play complementary football and to slow down the tempo and to try different things in the course of the Cincinnati Bengals game, then Ken Dorsey is still good at his job. He's doing what his boss is asking him to do. So I'm not going to blame Ken Dorsey. I think Ken Dorsey is good at his job. And I'll take it a step further. I think that this Bills offense, and there's stats to back this up, through 25 games under Dorsey, relative to Brian Daboll's first 25 games, it's improved. It's more productive than Brian Daboll's first 25 games. And there are going to be a lot of challenges for this Bills offense when you look at some of the defenses that they're going to face the rest of the way. This conversation isn't going to die. It's not going to go away. But based on some of what we've seen this week, analytics, stats, it's the defense that's the issue. And I'm not even going to pin Sean McDermott on the defense. He's dealing with a mash unit back there. He doesn't have an ideal lineup for his defense. But the defense in the Bills' last three losses, the Bills rank among the best offensive and among the worst defensively in combined production for the Jacksonville, New England, and Cincinnati games with the EPA metric, the expected points added per play. In those weeks, when you look at EPA, the offense ranks 5th, the defense ranks 27th. So, again, I know that our eyes are telling us something. I know they're not getting the points that we want them to get. That if you score,
I have to kind of push back on one thing though. The Daboll comparison, that's incredibly flawed. Brian Daboll had rookie Josh Allen. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm getting shut out by the Packers. What am I looking at here? And he helped develop him.
But who was his quarterback's coach?
Well, it was Dorsey at that time.
So Dorsey's good at his job.
Was he? When did Dorsey come in? Forgive me, I can't remember, but I'm going to concede that. But you can't say that Daboll, well, he's just on par with Daboll. No, that's a completely different comparison. Like, this offense was established when Ken Dorsey came along. I'm not upset at Dorsey. I'm upset at McDermott and the whole complimentary football. I know Football Guy will push back on that, but I would have to think that might be part of this danger. And yes, you can have all these advanced. The Bills are a weird team in the fact they can move the ball, they can get things done on offense, but I look up at the scoreboard, and that's what matters. And you should not be falling behind the way you are to the New England Patriots. And if you turn the ball over like you do there on the first play, that's going to haunt you in that regard. You have a nice first drive against Cincinnati thinking, yeah, it's going to be one of those games. Then what happens the next 2.5 quarters in that game? Because you needed to kind of power down. That's where I go back to McDermott on this. I don't have a problem with Ken Dorsey because I think you and I are in alignment on that. Ken Dorsey's doing what he's told. Doing what he's told. So the players' meeting today, the players' only meeting.
Yeah, again, which brings us back to that. What do you think that's about?
Right. So, and I can't wait to talk to Elaine and get her opinion on it. Again, it's only for the offense, and it's only one of two things. It's either Latavius Murray saying, guys, he's seeing things in this offense where guys aren't being accountable. You can't call a players' only meeting and just be like, well, okay, what does everybody think? And everybody shrugs their shoulders? No. I would think that Murray is saying things out loud. And Murray doesn't have the cachet as others in this locker room, albeit maybe Allen or maybe Diggs. But maybe Murray is prompting, I'm just throwing this out there, maybe speculating again, he's prompting Allen to do what I was suggesting to Allen. Hey, dude, this offense works better when we are in tempo. This is your offense. You need to go tell the head coach this. You need to tell the coordinator this. Josh Allen is more powerful than Ken Dorsey. Josh Allen is more powerful than Sean McDermott. It's time for a power player. Again, I don't know that to be the case. I would love it if that's what was being talked about. Like, look, the offense works better when we're picking it up. It doesn't when we're running this style that really we're not really kind of built for.
I hope it isn't, though. Like, Latavius Murray's a guy that's been around. He's been with a lot of different teams. He's been in a lot of different situations. Don't you just kind of look sideways at the guy that wants to compare the current situation to the situation he was in before. When I was in New Orleans, we had this. Like, as soon as you hear when I was or when I did or what, like, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it. You were in New Orleans, you Drew Brees, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. That's not the same situation. You can't always compare those apples to apples, right? Like, this situation might be complicated in that you have a head coach telling an offensive coordinator, you might have some dysfunction between what the coordinator is telling the quarterback and what the quarterback is executing, or what the quarterback wants to execute versus what the coordinator is calling, all because the head coach wants you to do something different or experimental during the course of a game.
Or if you just take it, because I think most fans would think, yeah, this is just players holding one another accountable. All right, if that's the case, then I would think that it would be Latavius Murray. And again, just speculating, like, hey, there's things that we
So if it's Latavius Murray, we need to get the run game going, right?
Yeah.
We need to get the running backs more involved. We're not getting anything because you're not getting any push up front. Maybe it's a come to Jesus for the offensive line from a veteran guy. We need you. We need you guys. We know what this looks like when you guys are effective, but they haven't been, and there's nothing there for James Cook, and there's been nothing there for Latavius Murray, and they haven't been able to get it. Maybe that's part of this week's plan against the Broncos. No, we are going to run the football, and this is your time, and we need Latavius Murray and LeGarrette Blount to be active, and we need James Cook to...
LeGarrette Blount, wow, that'd be a story.
If LeGarrette Blount is active against the Broncos,
LeGarrette Blount is not going to be active.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. LeGarrette Blount. Leonard Fournette. LeGarrette Blount, same guy.
No, but right, like that's
same guy.
Right.
Anyways, if you have Fournette active and you're going to put an emphasis on the run game, maybe that's the genesis of a players only meeting called by one of the running backs.
See, you're like, oh my gosh, if that is if they get LeGarrette Blount production out of Leonard Fournette. LeGarrette Blount is not going to be in the Hall of Fame, but you know what? He showed up and he was on winning teams and he got first downs when it mattered most.
Tom Brady loved
Yeah.
Loved Leonard Fournette in Tampa Bay. Loved him. Protected him. Did everything he asked him to do. Now, I don't know that that's the same Leonard Fournette you're going to get in Buffalo. Maybe the weather and the climate in Tampa had something to do with his ease of use. But, hey, look, if you're able to get more out of your run game, I think we would all welcome that.
Yeah, well, there are a couple games that are in nice climates. The one in L.A. and also the one in Week 18.
We certainly know Sean McDermott would love to run the football more offensively because that would lend very nicely to his goal of complementary football and long sustained drives and basically masking the deficiencies of his banged up and roughshod defense. It's something that could be the backbone to a players only meeting. Or it could be more dysfunctional than that. Don't know. I'm always alarmed when I hear players only.
I'm alarmed too. Because where Sean McDermott today was asked, and he's like, hey, we're confident. He's being the Rock of Gibraltar here.
Confident in our team, confident in our coaches, confident in our players, confident in our staff. Doesn't mean we don't have work to do. Doesn't mean we don't have a gap to close, and there's different things that make up that gap. And so we've got to continue to drill down on those areas and play better as an overall team, complementary wise, and reset some things that we need to reset. You go back and reteach certain things or reestablish certain things this time of year when you're going through things. Even when you're not going through things, it's the right thing to do. And so, but my confidence remains high in our group.
Sounds a little tired there. It's McDermott always. Our number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Luke in Rochester. What's going on, Luke?
Hey, guys, that LeGarrette Blount Freudian slip was highly interesting. But I think that, one of you talked about it the other day. It's really a problem with McDermott. It's over his head. He meddled with the offense before the Tampa game. Dorsey said as much that he had, but he's talking about complementary football, which is idiotic in today's game because it's all about passing. Reestablishing the run, like you guys just mentioned, is just kind of a fallacy in today's game. You kill teams by passing the ball. You have one of the best quarterbacks. I know you guys sometimes don't think Allen is really one of the best, but he is. You got to utilize the passing game. Screw that complimentary junk. It doesn't really work in today's game. Anyone that basically still utters that crap is not cogent what today's game is. It's all about passing.
Well, there's a couple things there, Luke. One, I think Allen, from a talent standpoint, is one of the best, but you can't deny that Allen in the NFL, since joining the NFL, has turned the ball over than any other quarterback. That's Josh Allen. And we kind of knew that that's what he was going to be. A little bit of that wild card, right?
Yeah.
The other element that's missing from this Bills offense this year is the explosive play. The play that we saw with relative ease a lot of times last year. And certainly the year before, the long ball, they're just not connecting on some of those deeper shots that we've seen Josh Allen connect on to Gabe Davis, to Steph Diggs. There's a handful of plays that happened in the Jacksonville game, and you're talking about a different game, right? Like we saw it in the Bengals game in the postseason last year. Man, he overthrows Diggs by a half a step, and if Diggs is there, and if that ball is accurate and complete, Diggs scores a touchdown. Who knows what that game looks like, right? It's that thin of a margin for error, and those big chunk plays, those explosive plays, haven't been there for the Bills offense so far this year.
Yeah, and I go back to week 1. And you just let's hop inside the mind of Sean McDermott. He's probably furious. You lost to Zach Wilson on Monday Night Football, and when we do the blame assessment, and it was a Tuesday, blame assessment Tuesday, it was all on Allen that day. You turned the ball over stupidly. Really dumb turnovers. And that's probably where this was kind of born. The next two opponents, whatever. Raiders, Commanders, you rolled them. You outscore the Dolphins. And I figured, okay, the Dolphin game should be the template. That's a good offense, but you know what? We've got a better one. Why wasn't that kind of philosophy in the Bengal game? You knew that you were going to need points against the Dolphins. You didn't have that complimentary. I almost swore right during that game. Well, I think it goes back to the Josh Allen turning the ball over, and also when you got to the Jacksonville game in London. Oh my gosh, the injuries.
Well, the injuries started in the Miami game when you lost Trey White.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like that defense hasn't looked the same without White, without Milano, without Daquan Jones. The defense, and you can't. This is a hard thing to pin on Sean McDermott because we know he knows defense. But he doesn't have the depth pieces that we were sold that they do. These guys haven't stepped up, and there's just a drop-off in talent. And that's the reality of the situation. There always is. That's why depth charts exist. You're not going to put the third guy on the depth chart out there because he's got a lot of heart. You have to have talent. Yeah, you're smart, yes. Your smart players will get on the field, but you also have to have athletic ability. You have to be more talented than the guy behind you. But Luke, nobody is saying that Josh Allen isn't one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I think we all agree. Like, no, his talent level is there. And I also think that there's a part of this that we discuss from time to time that you're trying to clip his wings in that you don't want him to run the ball. And you're trying to prevent him from taking unnecessary hits and more risk when you design runs for Josh Allen. It's such an important element of his game. It needs to be a part of his game. Even if it's, encouraging him to, if it's not there, tuck it and run. You might have a spy out there. Get down and, preserve yourself. Live to tell a tale another day. But this notion that Josh Allen needs to be a pocket passer and needs to stay in the pocket, come on. That's not. I get the strategy behind it. We want somebody that's going to be here for the next 10 years, but you're not utilizing him to his full capability.
No, I don't see them like putting the restrictor plate in Baltimore on Lamar Jackson, for instance. Or
there is no tomorrow. It's the NFL. There is no tomorrow, man. Go out there and play. Just go out there and play. And you saw some of it early in the Tampa game, and you certainly saw it in the first drive against Cincinnati, even though Josh wasn't really a part of that drive running the football. Like, you need some of that. It needs to be a part of the offense as well as an increased role from James Cook and Latavius Murray and maybe LeGarrette Blount. I'm sorry. Did I say it again? I did that one on purpose.
that was a funny
Leonard Fournette.
Well, no, but it's funny how you equate Leonard Fournette to LeGarrette Blount. He was brought in for a reason.
That's exactly. Yeah. As soon as I saw that signing, that's what I thought of, was the guy that you bring in as a hired gun late in the season to play a very specific role. And LeGarrette Blount could play that very specific role. I'm curious to see if he's active, and I'm curious to see what he looks like playing for the Bills. He might be a difference maker. Who knew?
Well, Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy coming up. We'll try to optimize your lineup here coming up. We'll talk about some of these trends. I mean, okay, you've had Kyler Murray stashed on your bench, but are you really trusting him at this point? Or can you just go, just wait until he shows you something? That question and many more.
All right, Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy. Our guest next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports. Update.
Offensive players of the Buffalo Bills held a players-only meeting today. The meeting led by running back Latavius Murray. The Bills coming off a loss. Head coach Sean McDermott says that's the league.
The cycle of a season, right? You're going to have some days and weeks and sometimes stretches of a month where you're feeling pretty good. You're not too banged up and you're flowing. And then you're going to have some where you feel like you can't avoid it because one nick leads to another bump or bruise, and then you kind of can't avoid it.
Christian Benford was in a red non-contact jersey today. Linebacker Terrell Bernard limited. Bernard still going through the concussion protocol. Week 10 of the NFL season begins tonight. It's sure to be a ratings bonanza as the Panthers face the Bears. Amerks are home tomorrow night against Utica. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
His process of going through, getting the game plan. It's a short week, so man, you got to really, focus on, yes, this is what I need to improve on from last week, but if I get in that situation again, I know what to do now.
That zombie you just heard is Bears head coach Matt Eberflus on his starting quarterback tonight, Tyson Bagent. You mentioned it in your sports update, Gene. Yes, Week 10 gets underway tonight in Chicago. The Bears hosting the Panthers. But watch anyways. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy, joining us now. My brother in pain when it comes to the Chicago Bears. And Andy, I'm trying to get up for it. I'm trying to get excited. DJ Moore, Adam Thielen. Get me excited from a fantasy perspective for tonight's game.
I feel like you guys are lacking a certain excitement, a certain interest level in this particular game. Listen,
did you pick that up?
I don't know. It's better than no football.
I agree.
It's close. The continuation of the Tyson Bagent era. That's pretty fun, huh? Who isn't into that? I don't know. I don't know if I could really excite you about this thing, except that you're probably going to see a lot of sometimes when two bad, joyless teams clash, we get Colts and Broncos on Thursday night last year. But sometimes we get a fun avalanche of turnovers, and it's kind of a funny bad game. And I think we might get something like that. I will say, Deontay Foreman tonight, a great play. Khalil Herbert not quite ready to return from IR, and so Foreman is going to get one of the friendliest run defenses in the league. On the other side, I don't know. Adam Thielen keeps this weird season going that nobody really saw. You could like Adam Thielen, but you couldn't possibly have imagined that he would challenge for top 10 status at wide receiver. That's kind of fun. Beyond, I don't know. I got very little for you.
Yeah, well, it's also fun, too, if I guess you guys don't have to feel conflicted. Hey, I want the Bears to have a good... Okay, then beat Carolina. Right. It helps out, too. Yeah. You don't want Carolina winning games and not getting that number one.
I will say it's too, I don't know, it's early November, and it's just too early to start rooting for losses. So this is a really nice situation where we have their pick anyway, so we can beat them, and it helps us in the long haul, and it helps you feel better in the short term.
Yeah, Andy, it's not just the Bears and Panthers. It's an unattractive schedule from the standpoint of what we'll be watching on national television. There are teams we like that are on the bye. There's a lot of quarterbacks that we don't know anything about that are going to be starting here this week. But one guy we're familiar with, but I don't know how this is all going to look. What would be your level of trust if you're in need of a quarterback, if you're in a super flex, something like that? How do you assess the situation in Arizona with Kyler Murray back for the first time this year?
It's funny that you frame it this way because going through the every Monday, Tuesday, we get our initial ranks up at Yahoo, and I don't remember a week when we've got Jalen Hurts out, we got Patrick Mahomes out, we got Tua out, right? So that's 3 top 5 quarterbacks. It was alarming how early I started thinking about maybe Sam Howell's the number 8 quarterback this week. Maybe you're looking at some names that I know are sketchy players who could definitely detonate and not help you, right? Who I'm cramming into my top 10. And in that landscape, I don't know. I'd start Kyler Murray in more than a super flex. If I stashed him a few weeks ago and I was lacking Tua, I was lacking Hurts, I was lacking Mahomes, but at least we know what his ceiling is. and it's better than almost anybody else who's outside the top 5 at the position this week. Now, I don't think Murray's going to come back, running like the vintage version of Kyler Murray off the ACL surgery. But he's got real weapons. He's got a real weapon in Hollywood Brown, Trey McBride. These are good players. We know that at his best, he can produce at an elite level. So I'm totally comfortable starting Kyler Murray this week. Again, more than in Superflex, I'd squeeze him into a 1 QB lineup if I were in dire straits due to the buys.
Andy, real compelling matchup in the AFC North. The Ravens hosting the Browns. We just saw the Ravens absolutely run the ball down Seattle's throat last Sunday. Will that work against the Cleveland Browns? Which players are you circling and highlighting for this matchup in Baltimore?
The 2 defenses. This is, and that's not even like a joke. These are the 2 best defenses in the league statistically, right? Baltimore's been ridiculous in terms of limiting touchdowns on red zone possessions. They've been incredible. Cleveland has been the best statistical defense all year, right? Number 1 against the run, just absolutely dominant. So I'm gonna be comfortable starting Lamar Jackson every week because he has so many paths to the fantasy value. I'm not very comfortable starting really any Browns in this one. I understand that people have to. I understand that you've got Amari Cooper and you can't take him out of the lineup because you've got a bunch of buys and all that. But I don't know. I'm not expecting anything big. If this has a chance to be like one of those really good games that finishes like 13-12, maybe that won't happen, right? Because good offense generally beats good defense anyway. But these 2 defenses have been outstanding. Each of them has, game-wrecking players in their own way. So I'm looking forward to it from that perspective. We might just get like sort of an old-fashioned, division rivalry game that actually goes, delivers a really low number and is really fun nonetheless.
Andy, who are the Houston Texans? Are they this team that is fun and lovable and you don't think twice and you see all those yards and the points? Record day for C.J. Stroud. Is that the team, or is it the team that only put up 13 points just 2 weeks ago against Carolina?
Yeah, I think that game told us a lot about both Stroud and the Tampa Bay defense, right? The Tampa Bay defense was horrid in that game, and they've been super vulnerable against the pass all season. So Houston exploited that. But I think you saw kind of a ceiling game from C.J. Stroud. It's funny, first couple of possessions, you couldn't see it coming. It was pretty ordinary. A lot of that was late. A lot of that was finally putting the ball on Tank Dell, and once he did, Dell was outstanding. Nico Collins is obviously outstanding. Stroud is pretty advanced. Stroud is clearly more advanced than any other quarterback in this rookie class. I don't think I saw that coming. I thought he was going to be good, but I didn't think he was going to be so good that he would be an automatic start in fantasy. But that's exactly what he's become, and some of it is kind of high level stuff too. It's not just a guy who's connecting with a bunch of first reads and his receivers are dominant. He's messing around with defenses a little bit. He's manipulating, safeties. It's been really fun to watch. And it was almost immediate too. It didn't take him very long. So I think Stroud is actually super impressive, and he's now, I don't know, he's almost guaranteed the Pro Bowl. There's in a season like this, I'm not going to say that he's any kind of favorite or anything like that, but in a season like this, where I don't think there is a clear MVP favorite at this point, you go out there and beat the Bengals and put up another big day, and you finish the season strong. I don't know. C.J. Stroud is going to have some people making an MVP case for him. Again, because there's no, we talk about a different MVP leader every week. C.J. Stroud has been awesome, and I think it is an ascending player that you can comfortably start in almost any matchup now.
Andy, on the other side of that field, Cincinnati a little bit banged up after their win against the Bills on Sunday night. T. Higgins not at practice today. Jamar Chase returning. Are you concerned about any of the Bengals receivers? And do you think we might have to go this week without T. Higgins in our lineups?
Yeah, initially Jamar Chase was talking about his own injury as if he didn't know when he would be able to come back. So I'm not feeling great about Chase either, right? He's clearly in a fair amount of pain, and it's a back injury, so you never know what direction a back injury is going to go. We have to worry about this, but the good thing here is that Tyler Boyd is a really good pro, multiple 1,000-yard season. So like they definitely have somebody who can step in, fill a role, be productive. We just need one of those big guys to go. Burrow, by the way, has looked awesome. Like last 3 games, absolutely fantastic. All the worries that we had over the calf injury and mobility early in the season are out the window. He's playing great. So I feel like they can cobble that together, certainly against a somewhat vulnerable Houston defense, right? Like whether it's Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd, or whether we actually get one or both of these alpha receivers back into the mix, I'd still feel okay about Burrow, especially because it's such a nightmare week at quarterback.
Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy is our guest. Andy, you've been covering fantasy football for many, many years. Has there been a head coach when it comes to usage that has been as perplexing as Arthur Smith and the goal line with Bijan? And it gets under my skin. Any head coach, it's like, well, blah, 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 fantasy. Like, I don't know. I would just think a better goal line option rather than your tight end might be the number 8 overall pick, Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I think it really comes down to Arthur Smith wanting to be the star of his own offense, right? He doesn't want any individual player to be the star of his offense. He wants to be the star of his offense, and he wants it to be scheme and design and all that. And I think it is a case where, we saw some of his best stuff come out when he was an offensive coordinator, but clearly someone was putting guardrails around him, right? Because at the end of the day, they were still feeding the right players in Tennessee. That is not happening now. And it's not even necessarily a fantasy question when reporters who cover that team ask that man, why his most talented players, the players who cost the most in terms of draft capital, are not getting the ball in critical areas of the field. That's not like a fantasy question. That's just like, what are we doing here, right? Like, why did we spend these resources to get these players if they're not even on the field sometimes in the red zone? Those are totally fair questions too. I will say, to Arthur Smith's credit, like there's been a clip going around this week of him giving 5 minutes to answer a question about like red zone touches and stuff like that. And I thought he answered it in a way that was, if not insightful, I don't think it was particularly insightful, but I do think he was trying to be respectful. And I think he realizes that like a lot of the stuff where he's just super thin-skinned and defensive and obviously very fragile when questioned about his offense, I think he realizes now that was not going over very well, and he needs to dial that back because it's not helping him. It's not answering the question. And to answer your original question, no, I can't remember a time when a team had such obvious, players who should be featured, star players, who are consistently used as decoys or off the field entirely. Like, the number of touches that have gone to Tyler Allgeier's fine, Jonnu Smith is fine, but the number of touches that have gone to them over Bijan Robinson, who you devoted a top 10 overall pick to in the draft in this era, that's just wild. It can't happen.
Andy, we see the Niners off their bye week. They are road favorites in Jacksonville. We're expecting Deebo Samuel, who's back at practice. Trent Williams has missed some time. We hope to see him back. Is that all that it's going to take for the Niners to get back on track here against a good Jaguars team at home?
Yeah, I don't think it's a layup, and it feels a little disrespectful to Jacksonville, right? Like, Jacksonville's in it to get home field in the AFC. That's a really good team that, they were a couple of, they had a couple plays that receivers could have made in the end zone that would have put them past like Kansas City. They could be in the driver's seat for home field in the AFC right now. I think that's a better team than they are, than at least the odds makers consider them to be. It should go without saying that San Francisco has not looked particularly impressive in recent games, and that shouldn't all come down to Deebo Samuel and Williams. So I don't know. I kind of like Jacksonville here, and I kind of think that's going to get. At the very least, I think that game is going to be close. I don't know that adding Chase Young to that defensive line, while it's a good move, obviously, for the pick that they gave up, but I don't think it fundamentally changes that much for them. Their defensive front was already pretty fierce. I don't know. San Francisco's given up a lot of points lately, and they've occasionally given up those points to some questionable quarterbacks. So I think it's actually one of the most interesting games on the slate. I can't wait to watch it. I'm kind of toying with the idea of just zeroing in on that game and not watching any red zone, not watching anything like that, because I think we really learned something about a couple of contenders.
Andy Barron's Yahoo Fantasy, our guest. So for our audience, Andy, like last Sunday was great. When you have the Bills in prime time, you get to watch a lot more football, right? And one of the games we got to watch was Seattle and Baltimore. My question is about the Baltimore backfield because, right now it's Edwards getting lion's share, but there was one player like, whoa, that looks different. Keaton Mitchell. Is this somebody you could see getting more of a load as we head toward playoff time in fantasy, or do you expect the Baltimore Raven backfield to be status quo?
Yeah, so Keaton Mitchell did this exactly in the preseason and generated an awful lot of buzz, like breaking off big plays. He was terrific at East Carolina, like average 7 yards per carry as a collegiate player. He's a bit like he's like a tick slower than Devon Achane, but and I don't mean that in any sort of disrespectful way. Like Achane is probably the fastest player in the league. If it's not Tyreek Hill, it's Achane, right? They're both like absolute elite speed. And Mitchell is close. Like Mitchell's like a 4.3 guy, whereas Achane is a 4.2 guy. But Mitchell's very, very fast, and it translated immediately to the field in the preseason, and then you saw it obviously last week as well. Unfortunately, I guess the other thing that is very much like Achane is that he is very small. He's like 5'8", 190, something like that. Typically, we would not see a player of that size take on like a full featured workload. But can he be someone who gets 8 to 12 touches a week and has a really good chance to pop one of those? Yes, I definitely think he can be that guy. And that is the sort of player that we will flex in any league with like 12 teams or more. So I think he's fun for fantasy purposes. I don't know if it really comes out of what Gus Edwards was already doing, because Gus Edwards has built up so much like equity and trust with that coaching staff. And has been so good, but I do think it's a real threat to Justice Hill if you happen to be starting him.
Andy, I want to make sure we ask you about the Bills and Broncos on Monday night, but before that, the Vikings are an offense that are going to look different, obviously, with Josh Dobbs than they did with Kirk Cousins, but how different? How much of a drop-off do you think? And you also have a pretty significant injury in Cam Akers with his ruptured Achilles. More Alexander Madison moving forward with Josh Dobbs behind center. How do you see the Vikings spreading and distributing their offense here?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's, I don't think that the Cam Akers injury, Cam Akers has just not played extremely well this year. So I don't that's not really debilitating to the offense so much. And, they've got a young player in Ty Chandler who can step in. And if they choose to give him those touches, that it shouldn't be that different, right? So I don't think they're affected by that. The Dobbs thing last week, I hope people appreciate what an absolute football miracle that was for somebody to come in, not knowing necessarily the first names of most of his offensive teammates. He gets in the huddle, and Kevin O'Connell has to tell him what to say, and then has to explain what that means before the communication cuts out, and then they got to run it, and Dobbs has got to identify if he wants to stick with it. It's just amazing. And honestly, you basically have to be an aerospace engineer or whatever he is to to pull that off. He's obviously a brilliant guy, played spectacularly. I don't think he's Kirk Cousins, right? Cousins opened this season with a string of 350-yard games and is just an absolute natural and was playing about the best football of his career. So I don't think he's quite that as a passer. He is fun for fantasy in his own right, though, because there's real rushing ability there, and he's obviously, confident enough driving an offense. He was playing at a reasonably high level in Arizona, certainly better than anybody had anticipated. That was another situation where he was kind of airdropped in there very late in the game, and he did well. So it's pretty good news if you've been waiting for Justin Jefferson to come back and you've been starting Jordan Addison. This is about the best case scenario. They landed a quarterback who was playing well and under extreme circumstances was playing really well for them last week. So I don't think you could have hoped for much more. It's still bad because it's not Kirk Cousins back there. It's not like Dobbs has put up a bunch of 300-yard games or anything. He is not. But this is this is a much better scenario than moving forward with like Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall or whatever we were looking at otherwise.
Yeah, Andy, last one for me, and it's about the Bills and Broncos, and to kind of give you the context of what the talk has been this week. Well, it's been about the Bills' offense, and the eye test, it's not passing, but then you look at the analytics, and it still tells you, well, this is one of the top offenses in the league, and what gives? And I have the opinion that it's, Sean McDermott and his desire for complementary football. It's like putting this restrictor plate on the offense overall, and I'm just wondering your thoughts here in this particular matchup against a team that, I don't know, at one point this year gave up 70 points in a game. So are we feeling comfortable playing Buffalo Bills coming up on Monday night?
Yeah, I mean, the Denver, it's one thing to say the Denver defense has been playing better, but you can't play much worse than giving up a 70 spot to an opponent, right? So, I don't know. Yeah, they've been a little better, I guess. A serious Super Bowl contender, like a team that is expected to make a deep playoff run, beats this team comfortably, right? Hey, the Chiefs didn't necessarily beat them comfortably a little while ago, but it has been bad. But the Bills are actually a relatively simple offense for fantasy, right? You're starting Diggs, you're always starting Allen. Cook, but James Cook hasn't been exactly the player that we hoped he would be, but he's been fine. Kincaid has become interesting. I haven't really seen Dalton Kincaid as the massive yards after catch guy just yet, but he's been good. He's obviously coming into a great role. Shakir has looked fine. Gabe Davis has continued to his Gabe Davis stuff, right, where it's touchdown or bust for the most part. So they're not that difficult for fantasy purposes. But I hear you. I would like to actually see them put 38, 35 on an opponent. Make it look relatively easy when they have really outgunned the team on the other side. I hope that happens this week. The Broncos are just Broncos have been kind of a joyless, unfun watch all year. Javonte Williams playing really well, but there's not a lot else there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there's anybody on the Broncos offense that could give the Bills' banged-up defense some problems on Monday night.
Yeah, so that's the thing. The Bills, I can't teach you guys anything about the Bills' defense, but it's obviously, it's taken on a little bit of damage. They're giving up almost 5 yards per carry, and Javonte, man, that was a guy we were really worried about coming into the year because it was a multi-ligament knee injury, tore the ACL, tore all the CLs basically, and he was able to start the season. He's coming off a game in which he had 30 touches. He's rushed for over 80 yards each of the last couple of weeks. You look at these last 3 or 4 games, and he looks, the advanced analytics, he looks kind of like the old Javonte Williams, right? He's piling up missed tackles. He's doing all the old Javonte things. So if they feed him a ton, he could be a real problem because he's turned in some really good efforts lately, and he looks suspiciously like the vintage version of Javonte Williams.
The way to start your week in fantasy, may we suggest Fantasy Football Live featuring Andy Behrens. Tell everybody a little bit about it. What time you guys go on tonight, Andy?
Oh, yeah, appreciate you guys. We are on it at 7 p.m. Eastern, 75 minutes before kickoff. We go through all the Thursday night storylines. I know you guys are geeked up for tonight's game, so we go through all the Thursday night storylines. Then we answer all kinds of sit-start questions, mostly about Sunday, talk about some big matchups there as well. Please check us out.
Andy, it's always a pleasure to have you on. Enjoy the game tonight. I'm going to enjoy the game tonight, Gene. Yeah. I know you outsiders.
There you are.
Yeah, I'm going to enjoy the game tonight. I'm going to try to enjoy the game. All right, I'm going to hate watch the game tonight. That's what I'm going to do. Andy, appreciate the time. Talk to you again next week.
If I were still alive in Survivor, I'd be taking the Bears tonight.
I'm taking Cincinnati. I'm a little nervous, Andy.
Oh yeah, you should switch to the Bears. Give yourself a wild ride.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you. Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy Sports.
Oh gosh, they were saying that on BetMGM last night. Would you take Bears? Well, it's the only chance to take the Bears. No. Yeah. I think it was Horvat said no. We're not going anywhere near that game.
Ryan Horvat. Take the Bears. Love Andy Behrens. Love me some Andy Behrens. Love when he comes in here and talks fantasy football with us every Thursday at this time in the sports bar. Get you set for week 10. Yes, the NFL slate is less than attractive, but there are a couple of sneaky good games in there if you look closely. That Baltimore Cleveland game I think is real compelling. And we talked about the Niners and the Jags. I think that game is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, as Andy mentioned and you mentioned, it's the NFL. We'll watch.
Oh, yeah.
We'll enjoy it.
For sure. All right, we're going to take a break and come back. Elena Getzenberg of ESPN is going to join us from Orchard Park here in a few. Offensive players only meeting today? What? What's going on? We'll get Elena's take on what's happening there from practice today. We'll go over the Bills injury report next as well. We have time for your calls if you want to pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. Get ready to start that NFL week off right. You've heard us talking about the Bears and the Panthers. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. All customers right now get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Bears and the Panthers tonight. You're going to get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has
Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester, sports update.
A players-only meeting today for the offense. Latavius Murray leading that meeting. Meanwhile, Josh Allen talking about this week's opponent, the Denver Broncos.
They're a group that's, they're hungry to win. On the defensive side of the ball, they don't have, I wouldn't say any splash names on the defensive line, but it's a group that works extremely well together. They got guys that work extremely hard, and they work together very well.
Your Thursday injury report is this: not practicing Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Leonard Floyd under the weather. Christian Benford in a red non-contact jersey today. He was limited. Terrell Bernard going through concussion protocol. He was out there limited. A.J. Klein and Balin Spector limited. We'll talk to Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com. Some Buffalo Bills coming up later this hour. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I gotta know, guys, are people panicking right now with the Bills?
You can tell there's a big reset today when they get back on the field.
Mike Danger.
Denver and Sean Payton coming off of a bye. It doesn't feel like the Bills are deserving of being a touchdown or greater favorite against anyone, given how they've played so far this season.
Gene Battaglia.
Maybe this is actually a good thing for the Buffaloes. They have an extra day here. We'll learn more about the Broncos as the week goes along here, but this is not an easy one for Buffalo.
I'm really excited that we will have the chance to preview Panthers-Bears. Actually, let me just do it right now. Who cares?
Oh, who cares?
Oh, that was a good preview.
We are junkies. Panthers, Bears, but watch anyways.
Don't do that. Dante DiVincenzo. Tommy DeVito. Tino Favors.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Not only do we appreciate all of you for listening every afternoon from 3 until 6 here in the Flower City or online in the Odyssey app, as you will. Also the stream at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. We appreciate those who support the show. And you should support those who support the show. Friends of the show. Sponsors of the show. Guys like our friend Mo.
Mo. I love Mo. I saw Mo
He's the
today.
best.
Mo, what I like about Mo is he gives you context. Like, Mo is the guy that bet on the Jets in Super Bowl III.
This is Havana Mo's we're talking about on East Ave.
So I go see Mo once a month, and he gives me his tips, okay? So I go in today. And Mo, Gene, I'll do my best, Mo. And if you're in town, you've probably met Mo.
If you've been to Havana Mo's, you know Mo.
Yeah.
He's got the hair, the long hair, and he's always bronze.
Yeah.
Just always sporting a savage tan.
Exactly. Like he just came back from Aruba, basically. Gene, why are so many people upset about the Buffalo Bills from Sunday? I'm like, well, Mo, yeah, you should have been. No, stop. Let me ask you questions. It's putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Gene, who has the better quarterback? Oh, that would be Joe Burrow. Right. Joe Burrow's the better quarterback. And who has the better receivers? Well, T. Higgins and Jeremiah. Right. And who has the better defense? Well, with the injuries. Right. And who has the better coaches? I'm like, all right, Mo. All right, Uncle. Yeah. And so you're upset about a one-possession loss. I'm like, yeah, he's pointing in perspective. The Bills, maybe our expectations are a little too high here.
Well, I would counter Mo by saying, who predicted that the Bengals would beat the Bills on Sunday night?
You and I.
Nobody cares when you're right. Yes, we both viewed it the way I think Mo is viewing it, through the simple lens of better quarterback, better coaches. And I said last week, I think Lou Anarumo is a better defensive coach than Sean McDermott. Not head coach. He hasn't done that yet. Sean McDermott is a head coach, doing well, right, with the Buffalo Bills. But Lou Anarumo has done more with less, and their resumes are shockingly similar. I think Lou Anarumo is a better defensive coordinator than Sean McDermott. But the idea that we're upset, I think going into the game and thinking, this feels like a loss, just looking at these different categories, you can't really be upset. It kind of went the way we thought it was going to go. And if we look ahead to Monday night and you try to predict, how do you think it's going to go? Okay, go through the same exercise. Who has the better quarterback?
Buffalo.
Correct. Who has the better defense?
Well, Buffalo.
Right.
Yeah.
Who has better receivers?
Buffalo.
The Bills should win.
We should win this
on Monday.
Yeah.
And don't worry about style points. I don't think they're going to cover personally, but I think that they get the win on Monday. And you could do this exercise for every game, and that's a pretty safe way to go about picking who's going to win games on Sunday.
I'm inclined to say that this is one where we'll be maybe tricked into thinking the Bills are back here. Where I'm thinking this is going to be a comfortable win Monday night finally, but it's not going to be much. It's Denver, whatever.
I brought it up earlier, and I'll bring it up again because I know that this is the topic this week that everybody and the offense holding a players only meeting just throws a little gasoline onto the fire. The Bills' offense has become more productive under Ken Dorsey, even as overall offensive production in the league has regressed. We can debate Dorsey's scheme. We can debate his play calls. It's all subjective. All of that is subjective, and that's what's fun about debating Ken Dorsey. But production is an easy thing to quantify. And the Bills' offense remains one of the league's most productive. Earlier this week, we talked about how the Football Outsiders, Aaron Schatz, had the Bills' DVOA as second in the NFL. And Master Stroke pointed it out to him. Master Stroke reached out to him directly and said, what gives, man? Because we all want this guy fired, and it doesn't pass the eye test. But here they are at number 2 overall. And he mentioned that, yes, early in the season certainly helps that metric, but they aren't the problem. When you look at the Bills' last 3 losses, you see that the Bills rank among the best offensively and among the worst defensively in combined production for the Jacksonville, New England, and Cincinnati games. In those weeks, when you look at EPA, which is expected points added per play, the offense ranks 5th, the defense ranks 27th. And that's not all. The Bills' offense has improved its first 25 games under Ken Dorsey relative to Brian Daboll's first 25 games. Now, there will be more challenges for this Bills offense. When you look at some of the defenses that they're going to face here down the stretch, it's a tough schedule. But based on the analytics that we've seen this week, I'll repeat what I said in the offseason, and I know it might upset some Bills fans. Ken Dorsey is good at his job.
And I would say that's actually alarming if Ken Dorsey's numbers are the same in his first 25 as Brian Daboll's first 25. Brian Daboll, when he had Josh Allen week 2, Josh Allen getting his feet wet. Josh Allen doesn't know which way is upside or down.
And Ken Dorsey is his quarterback's coach.
Wrong. Ken Dorsey came in 2019.
Right, and that's when it all took off.
You could say that, or I could say at the end of the first season. I don't know. I'm not going to put Ken Dorsey in any Brian Daboll category. I'm sorry. But to your point, Ken Dorsey's he's doing what he's told here, basically. If Sean McDermott's saying, hey, we want to run different styles of offense, he's got to do what the boss wants.
Right. So I would then speculate this players only meeting. Is it about a revolt? Is it about like, hey, the head coach has lost his mind. Our offensive coordinator knows what we can do and knows how we can do it our best. What are we doing here, guys? Or is it about, hey, this is what's being asked of us going into Monday's game. Now is our time to maybe it's the run game. Maybe it's getting more out of that run game.
What fans would think is, oh, you know what? We really need to dig in. I'm holding you accountable. You hold me accountable. Blah, blah, yeah. I don't know if it's that or if this is just, sorry for the language, it's a bitch session.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And
basically.
Sometimes that can be productive. It can be therapeutic. It could galvanize. It could bring guys together. But you're doing it without the coaches in the room. Yeah, chances are that the coaches are part of that discussion that the players are having during their players only meeting, that they are doing some complaining about what's being called by the coaches.
I will be paying attention to college football as you will be. I've talked to a lot of people, including Mo, about, hey, what about Penn State this week? I
actually thought for a second, as I was thinking about this weekend's action, the question crossed my mind, is Penn State, Michigan the best football game of the weekend?
No, I would go with Niners, Jags. I'm curious to see if the Niners take care of their... That's a contrasting style, and I don't know why they didn't flex that. Well, I do know why, because there's costs involved. And the NFL knows, like, hey, you're going to get Jets Raiders, and you're going to like it, and you're going to watch.
And Jets Raiders, by the way, with all the changes with Vegas, kind of becomes compelling a little bit, right? Like, I want to see if Vegas looks like a different team with the rookie and with the new head coach. They looked like a different team last week against the Giants.
Now, this one, I'm sure a lot of people won't be paying attention to, but I'm going to try to sell you on this game. Ready? Rutgers, Iowa. Why should you pay attention to Rutgers, Iowa? Here's why. This could be a record-setting game when it kicks off. The over-under for this game, Danger.
Come on.
28.
They can't even get it to 30?
28. If that holds, that's the new record.
Wow.
Since 2019, the Hawkeyes are 66% on the under, which... that is the best in Division I since that time. They can't put these games low enough. And the total this week, this comes after Iowa beat Northwestern last week by that scintillating score 10-7. It's the third consecutive game the Hawkeyes game has scored 22 or fewer points. Not themselves, just the over-under was at 22. How can this offense be this bad? Here's the take, Danger, because we look at this tight end from Iowa. Look at this offensive line. Maybe Kirk Ferentz is so overrated. Like, Iowa, do you care about winning your football team? Because I look at that, I'm like, you're playing 1950s football in Iowa where you have no idea how offensive football, but please, regale me on how Kirk Ferentz is this masterful coach.
Kirk Ferentz just knows what you fail to recognize. The secret to winning football games is playing complementary football.
Are you betting the under on Iowa Rutgers?
I'm going to...
I don't want to watch Rutgers football.
I'm going to say...
No offense to Mark Fergali, our
Greg
good friend.
Schiano, right? Greg Schiano's back there? I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm going to tell PJ. I'm going to listen to what PJ has to say. Speaking of over-unders and betting and fantasy, survivor pool, Gene, I feel... that I've become a survivor pool expert by proxy, even though my pick got eliminated a couple of weeks ago. Because every week now, I've got friends reaching out to me, and I know you go through the same thing.
Okay, well, here's rather than reach out to Danger directly, listen at 4:25 every Tuesday here in the Sports
In
Bar.
fairness, a lot of these guys are out of town. I know that they can listen on the Odyssey app, and they probably should listen on the Odyssey app. But they're asking me, who do you like? Do you like the Bills or do you like the Bengals? Which team would you take for Survivor?
Oh, okay. This is a good question. Like, if we didn't have the rule, okay, we
took the Bills earlier in the season.
Let me back it up even further. Yeah. Okay, if you had Dallas, you take Dallas.
Yes.
Tommy DeVito is starting. Giant fans either don't watch or hate watch. Don't have any hope into that game. Every day I look at the line and it keeps climbing. I'm like, it's now up to 17.
Yep.
It's going to get to 20 by the time it's all said and done.
Largest point spread of the season.
Yeah, that's crazy. And the Cowboys have won 11 straight at home. It's the longest streak in the NFL, and they're going to win. Take the Cowboys. You're not saving. All right, but what you're saying is, would you take the Bills over the Broncos or the Bengals over the Texans? Oh, that's easy. I would take the Bills this week if I had the Bills still as a choice. Okay? And I always say don't look ahead. But here in the Sports Bar, we talk a lot of Bills football. And I know inside and out this Buffalo Bills team. And I would say this, kind of going against my own rules, like don't look ahead. But
you're not taking the Bills.
No, you shouldn't feel comfortable against the Jets. No way against the Eagles or the Chiefs. Or the Chargers, dare I say. Now, things can change along the way. Injuries, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the Chargers coach gets fired. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But this would be the spot to take the Buffalo Bills if you still had that as a choice. We took the Bengals, and I brought this up here, and getting pushback from the experts this week. Andy, I asked Andy, like, wait a second. Yes, that was exciting what the Texans did last week. They put up 13 points against Carolina. Many of us think Carolina is the worst team in the league. How did you lose to Carolina? It's too much up and down. The only thing that could cause me to reconsider the Bengals are the injuries. But Jamar Chase says, hey, I'm going. Mm-hmm. Higgins we're not so sure about. So
Higgins not practicing today. Chase returning to practice today. We all saw the hard fall he took on his backside, and that back might give him some issues here come this weekend. So we're staying with the Bengals, but I'm advising my friends who are asking if you have the Bills. Yes, the Bills would be a good pick.
The Bills would be the choice.
I struggle with it because I see the inconsistencies. We all see the inconsistencies. However, the Bills at home have been pretty good, right? They haven't lost at home, and they are a better team talent-wise. Better quarterback, better going through the Mo exercise, the Mo gauntlet. The Bills should beat the Broncos. If they don't beat the Broncos, by the way, we're coming in that Tuesday. That's when we're upset.
Yeah.
We were upset when they lost to the Patriots, but the way that game went, it's like you can't spot any team in the NFL a 10-point lead before you get your second play from scrimmage, which is what they did.
That was you're hoping that was the Jacksonville loss for the Buffalo Bills this year. Like, wait a second, road game, inferior opponent, you didn't show up until it was too late. Then there was another game that you kind of considered for half a second. I'm glad Andy Barrett, like talking to Andy Barrett, he's great with the one-liners. Like, wait a second, because you can't go Arizona. Arizona's terrible, but you're not going with the Falcons. And talking about like the Falcon goal line usage, and if you're not familiar, first and goal. Handoffs to the tight end, Jonnu Smith, when you have Bijan Robinson. Andy's line when he said that earlier, that the star of the Falcons offense
is Arthur Smith.
Yeah.
Right. He's got to be the smartest guy in the room. So creative, so different.
I'm wealthy.
Yeah. Yes. I have extreme wealth, and I don't need to do this with you peasants.
I fancy myself as an alien.
He is. He is an alien with that kind of wealth. So they travel to Arizona. Kyler Murray returns for the late window game there, the 4:05 kickoff between the Cardinals and the Falcons. But yeah, we're staying with the Bengals. But if you do have the Bills at your disposal, that would be the play.
That would be the play. I would not entertain the Raiders Jets whatsoever. Right now, that's a pick 'em.
Elena Getzenberg writes on the Buffalo Bills for ESPN.com, ESPN's NFL Nation. Love having Elena on. She is there in Orchard Park covering the team and has some insight as to what this offensive players only meeting was about today. We've got an injury report to talk about with Elena as well. And we'll get her general sense on the overall demeanor around the facility. We heard Sean McDermott earlier. You said he sounded tired. Sean McDermott sounded tired.
Yeah.
In talking about...
Play the cut here. Like Sean McDermott sounds like he's been burning the midnight.
Confident in our team, confident in our coaches, confident in our players, confident in our staff. Doesn't mean we don't have work to do. Doesn't mean we don't have a gap to close. And there's different things that make up that gap. And so we've got to continue to drill down on those areas and play better as an overall team, complementary-wise, and reset some things that we need to reset. You go back and reteach certain things or reestablish certain things this time of year when you're going through things. Even when you're not going through things, it's the right thing to do. And so, but my confidence remains high in our group.
Do you remember before week 2 when we were listening to Ken Dorsey say over and over again, smart, not conservative?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a quaint time? It was just such a quaint and peaceful time. Now we have to hear a steady drumbeat of complimentary football.
Here is you want to hear from Latavius Murray himself?
Sure. Why not?
This is courtesy of Andy Young out in Buffalo.
I know, I'm coming from a sincere place of us just trying to communicate, trying to figure out what we can do to be better, what we can control, right, as players. And so it's just important to have that open communication. That's for us to talk about it as opposed to point fingers or just let things go on and not maybe address things that we can kind of communicate or things we want to be better at.
All right, what is he talking about communication? What do we need to communicate?
Things that we can control. I heard that. When I heard we're going to control the things that we can players control the play call or the game plan, or you can have input. Josh Allen should have input.
Yeah, like when we're told to kind of downshift here, we can't control that. We have to execute what's called.
Right. Don't point the fingers.
Yeah. So okay, that tells me maybe there's some friction, guys. We got to do what we're told.
Well, anytime I hear players only meeting, I think, all right, immediately dysfunction. There's something going on. Somebody's not in line with what's going on. But maybe Elena can shed some light on it for us. Elena Getzenberg, ESPN.com. Joining us next in the Sports Bar. Glad you're with us. Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has
Sports Update.
Players only meeting for the Buffalo Bills on offense. Only the offensive players. This was led by running back Latavius Murray. Bills coming off a loss. Head coach Sean McDermott says that's the league.
The cycle of a season, right? You're going to have some days and weeks and sometimes stretches of a month where you're feeling pretty good. You're not too banged up and you're flowing. And then you're going to have some where you feel like you can't avoid it because one nick leads to another bump or bruise, and then you kind of can't avoid it.
Not practicing today, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Leonard Floyd. Christian Benford limited. Terrell Bernard limited. He's going through concussion protocol. Also limited today, A.J. Klein and Balin Spector. We'll talk to Elena Gatzenberg, ESPN.com, coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Week 10 begins tonight. It's the Panthers and the Bears. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
That's a key for any team throughout the years. You got to win at home. You have to make these ones count. Obviously, you'd love to win the away ones too, but to have that advantage and to have obviously Bills Mafia in the house making noise and making it hard for the opposing offense and the opposing quarterback, it gives us an advantage. So we got to make sure that we do win at home, but our focus is Monday night and taking it one game at a time.
And they'll be looking for that home win Monday night as the Denver Broncos come to town as we continue our conversation on Bills Broncos with Elena Gatzenberg from ESPN, NFL Nation, ESPN.com. Elena covering the Buffalo Bills, doing one hell of a job doing. Elena, always love having you come into the Sports Bar. Really appreciate it. Can we start with what we've heard of this offensive players only meeting that was kind of spearheaded by Latavius Murray? What have you heard?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me on as always. It's a big deal, but it's not at the same time. It sounds like, Latavius Murray's while he's new to this team, he is one of the more veteran players, you could say. He's seen a lot of things. So it sounds like, Khalil Shakir said, it was kind of like, make sure you're being there for your teammates, supporting the guys around you, not giving up, no heads down, that kind of thing. It was kind of just a pump-up kind of thing. I think this offense we've obviously seen is not where they would like it to be, and they've been very honest about that. So just to me, it's a natural progression. It's interesting to me that it was, I think that says a lot about Latavius Murray being new to this team and the role he's already having from a leadership perspective. So a meeting to kind of get on the same page and that sort of thing and make sure they're being there for their teammates was the general tone.
Yeah, Elena, this has been a big topic, and I know McDermott was pressed on this week. Just wanted to get your opinion and, from, you talking to people that when Sean McDermott is talking about complementary football, does that come at the expense of what should make this Buffalo Bills offense great?
I don't think so. I think it's an interesting thing where complementary football doesn't necessarily mean running the football. When Sean McDermott's talking about complementary football, sometimes that means the offense complementing the defense in the sense that if the defense is getting off the field quicker and at certain field positions, then the offense will have a better opportunity to put drives together and have success. Now, he does also read, this is something we could have had the same conversation about over, I don't know, at least the last 5 years, I would think that, Sean McDermott would like to run the football more than the Buffalo Bills currently do. That is not something he hides. And I do think there's an element to, Ken Dorsey potentially having pressure to run the football and that can take away from what the Bills offense does best, which is passing the ball and having everything go through Josh Allen. So I think there's an element of it. I don't think it's necessarily taking away, but I do think it's something to keep in mind is that if there's pressure to run the ball, is that taking away from what Josh Allen does? But I don't think we've seen that. We've seen that in pieces, and it's certainly an element to this offense. But there's other issues beyond that, in my opinion.
Elena, we heard from Sean McDermott after the loss on Sunday night, and he was asked about why the departure offensively, because it looked like after the first offensive drive that the Bills were going to be able to move the ball pretty effective, and he came right out and said that we wanted to try different styles. What was your interpretation of what he said, what he meant with that? I mean, he can't possibly be saying to himself, that worked too good. Let's try something different.
No, I don't think that's the case.
It just makes no
I think
sense, I guess, is why I'm asking the question.
No, it's a fair question. I mean, I think there is elements to it of what we just talked about, where it's like, yes, Sean McDermott would like to run the football and like have that be more of the offense, and thus sometimes that's getting away from that fast-paced thing. But I think something we heard from Ken Dorsey this week was like, you know, they don't want to become predictable, and they want to make sure their offense is, you know, defenses are knowing what to expect from their offense. So I think that is an element of why you don't keep doing the same thing over and over. Now, I'm on the opinion that it was working, and they should have kept with it until it wasn't working. I think that's, you know, perhaps an approach they should have gone with, but it's certainly, you know, something that I don't. And the thing is, I feel like they don't have answers to some of these questions, so I don't have answers. You know, like, I think it's something they are trying to figure out, like, why these things are happening, like, why are they trying other styles, and, you know, what's going into all this. But I do think it's an element of running the football, but also we've heard a lot that they do not want to become predictable, which I think is something we saw from them last year a lot under Ken Dorsey. So maybe that's they're overthinking that part of it now and getting in their own heads and getting in their own way.
Elena Getzenberg from ESPN.com covering the Buffalo Bills back in the sports bar here today. And Elena, when we're at St. John Fisher watching this team, and maybe it's just the summertime and we're all relaxed and we're saying, wow, this team has depth, and well, I mean, is it fair to say next man up isn't what we thought it would be here for this defense? That's part one of the question. And kind of, you know, of all these injuries here that the guy's not practicing today, whether that's Benford or perhaps Terrell Bernard, maybe one of the safeties, any concerns that right now on a Thursday, one of these guys are not going to be able to go coming up Monday night?
Sure. Yeah. I think it's a concern. I think Terrell Bernard is, you know, concussion protocol is a tricky thing, and it's something that has a very strict it's why it's a protocol. It has a very strict set of rules that you have to do to get out of it. But I think the extra day for Terrell Bernard is huge, and him being limited in practice today is a positive for his progression. But, you know, Jordan Poyer's injury just, you know, it popped up. Got kicked in the leg apparently during the game, and Micah having this neck being an issue as well is a concern. So, yeah, I think there's real concerns about this secondary's health, but I honestly think, like, the job the defense has done, like, holding the Bengals to 24 points with the defense that they have right now is shocking to me. Oh, shocking strong, but it's surprising to me because they are so banged up. This unit is, I mean, they continue to lose guys. They're down to... You're right. Like, next man up, I don't even know if it describes it anymore. Like, they are so banged up at a variety of positions, and, you know, they're starting to get healthy at some spots, and then they get injured elsewhere. So they are really going through it, and if they're able to, you know, have success still and do what they do, I mean, I think Terrell Bernard would be a huge loss if he can't go, just because he's played so well and he does so much in the middle of the field. And then obviously the dime package, if Jordan Poyer is available, if he's not. So there's just a lot of components to it that's going to be something to watch. And it's going to be more the next man out there. You know, multiple of these guys aren't available for Monday night.
All right, Elena, so let's talk about some of the new additions to that next man up philosophy, because we saw a little bit of Rasul Douglas. We saw a little bit of Linval Joseph on Sunday night. Are we going to see Leonard Fournette active Monday night in the Bills' run game?
I don't know if we're there quite yet. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not this week, maybe the next week. I don't think there's necessarily a rush to put him out there, especially because learning an offense tends to be more complicated than learning a defense. I think that's important to keep in mind, especially heard a lot about that there's a lot of complexities to this Ken Dorsey offense in terms of a lot of different, you know, it's a combination of offenses to some respect, so there's a lot to learn. But I think we'll see him at some point. It's just, you know, they can only call so many guys up, and especially with the injuries on defense, there might be priorities elsewhere this week. But I would say the more time goes, the more likely it is. So it's not impossible for this week, but, you know, there's not a rush necessarily. I think he'll be helpful, but I don't know. I don't know if there's a rush to put him out there. So I think his time will come. If it's this week, maybe more next week. So not like, I think it depends honestly how some of these injured guys go and how they need to handle call-ups from the practice squad. So we might have to see as it gets closer.
Elena, this was a topic going back right when it was announced that, hey, Sean McDermott is now going to be the defensive coordinator. Is that too much for anybody to be a head coach and be calling plays and when everything kind of going on? And now that we see the season's gone on, and there's been certainly many factors to why the Bills are where they're at, but do you see there perhaps becoming a time? I know McDermott was asked about this this week, and he kind of sidestepped it, but could you see Sean McDermott bringing on a little bit of help maybe when it comes to the play calling on the defensive side of the ball?
Not right now. I don't think so. I don't know if that's the issue. If anything, you could argue that, maybe his involvement in the offense and wanting to see certain things is an issue more that way. I don't think that's what's wrong with this offense is that, Sean McDermott is also now calling plays and more involved in the defense. I think these issues may exist without that. I think Sean McDermott has been a head coach for long enough and has experience as a defensive coordinator that, yes, he's, spread thin, but I think it's important to remember that there's multiple coaches on this staff with coordinating experience that he's really relying on. And I think the responsibilities are spread out enough that, yes, this team has issues. I just don't know if that's really top of the list, causing this problems. I think there's other things to be more concerned about.
Elena, we were discussing on Monday after the loss the most important player, the most important person within the Bills organization, short of Terry Pagula, is Josh Allen. That he carries more weight than the head coach. He carries more weight than the offensive coordinator, more weight than the GM. As Sean McDermott, as Josh Allen goes, this Bills team goes. So with that in mind, you spend time around Josh in his press conferences. You get to see him on the practice field. We hear about how competitive he is. Does Josh Allen have it in him to go psycho when it comes to this offense and really take more control a la a Peyton Manning or a Tom Brady did? The elite quarterbacks in the NFL, the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks have that extra gear, that extra level of competitiveness that we want to believe that Josh has. Does he have it?
I think he does. I do think he has that. And I don't think it's hard because he's kind of saying he's dialed it back this year. But I still think we're seeing elements of Josh's competitiveness and his ability to take control of this team. And, he's not, he's talked to us today about how, from a leadership perspective, he's more of a show instead of tell. He might not be the guy who's talking all the time and leading a team meeting in that way, but he's going to show and lead by example. So I still think Josh has these elements. I think he's a really good quarterback who's going through some tough times. I don't think his throwing not excusing anything, but I don't think his throwing shoulder being hurt is helping in these last few games. So, yes, I think he has that ability. I think we've seen him have that ability. And, how they give him a lot of power over this offense, but it is still Ken Dorsey calling the plays. So that's kind of just how they run it. So I do think Josh Allen has that capability. And, again, we've seen it. It's just they're in a bit of a lull right now, and they're hoping they can snap out of it. And I think we've seen enough from Josh Allen, though, in the past to know that he has that ability.
So, Danger, last time the Bills were home, that was also a night game on Thursday, and we're walking back up from the locker room after Sean McDermott comes out after midnight, and Elena lets out this big yawn. I'm like, Elena, no yawning. We've got work to do. So here we are, another primetime game, another long night coming up here, Elena. And it's where you would look at it and be like, oh, this should be a winnable game. Elena, is it a winnable game for the Buffalo Bills?
I would just first like to say that I detest primetime games, and the fact that the NFL scheduling gods gave us 3 in a row is a crime. I just have to say that for the record. It's horrific and unacceptable. I think this game got a lot more interesting than it should be, if we're being honest. It should be a very winnable game for the Bills. It should be part of an NFL primetime slate that's relatively calm, this week. But I think this game is really interesting because the Broncos defense is getting better. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs very recently. And this is a game the Bills should win, and they're very good in Orchard Park. They played their best football in Orchard Park this year. But there's an element to this team that you just don't know how they're going to show up each week. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be a game. They should win it easily. They should is the key word, but I think we haven't seen enough from this offense to know that they can get up to a big lead early and take control of the game. We just have not seen that. But if they do that in this game, if they can score a couple touchdowns relatively quickly, I think it's over. But they need to do something they haven't been able to do really consistently. So we'll have to see.
Elena, what are you working on at ESPN.com that our audience can check out here leading up to Monday night?
I got a story up on the offense this week. Got a bunch of everything's on Josh up there. It's a busy time. We're really in the grind of the season. Working on a Von Miller story, and then we'll have a kind of a look back story on some older quarterbacks from years past, including Jim Kelly, going up on Monday. So it's a busy time. We got a bunch of cool stuff. This is a cool game, obviously, with Von Miller facing the Broncos for the first time in his career.
So, Elena, you know I wasn't going to let you off the hook here. And by the way, I don't know if you ever worked in sales, but in sales, to get the yes, you hear a ton of no's. So this is the way it's gone the last 2 years. 2 years ago, hey, Elena, Rochester, want to go get a garbage plate? No. Last year, Elena, you want to go get a garbage plate? No. So maybe 2024, Elena, what do you think? Perino came out and enjoyed our fine cuisine here in Rochester.
I would just like to say that this year I did not say no. The timing just didn't work out, so I need to defend myself in that regard. But yes, I still would love to get a garbage plate, and we'll just have to lock in a day in advance for 2024 and circle it in big red circles and all that kind of thing, and we'll plan on that.
Just do us a favor. Don't ask Perino about it before, because you're not going to get. Just he's going to spill fake news.
Yeah, my body is a temple.
He's going to tell you everything bad, all the negatives about it. Like there's nothing negative about it. It's a good time, and it was
okay. I don't trust his opinions anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Right? Yeah, I think you've actually said on this show, if I'm not mistaken, that Perino's food takes are trash.
Yes, I will stand by that. He doesn't like mac and cheese. That's unacceptable.
Elena, always appreciate you stopping by the sports bar. Enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend.
You guys too. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Elena.
There she is from ESPN, ESPN.com. Elena Getzenberg covering the Buffalo Bills.
3 primetime games in a row is a crime.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that hear that and be like, okay, if it's a crime, I'll take your job.
Yeah, no. I mean, just...
It's a grind. It's a long night. I don't think fans realize that, right? Like when you're in media and you're covering a game, or you're at training camp and you're covering training camp, and a lot of these beat reporters are staying at Fisher, that they're away from their families. It becomes, it's their job, but it's a job. It's a grind.
Yeah, they're, you know how many times, like once a week, oh, you're going to have fun at the game. I'm not drinking. Nope. Not tailgating.
Yeah.
Nope. Not doing
any of that. This is
between
you and me. You go to the game to work. I go to the game because I want to have fun.
Chris writing in about McDermott. He's trying to fit in. You can write to us on X, by the way, the Fan Rochester handle. Chris saying he's trying to fit the offense to play complementary football to his defense, which throws the rhythm off. Kelly Gunn should make another appearance.
Yeah, that's kind of like what that hurry up that they were running, that no huddle that they were running against the Bucs felt like, right? Early in that game. And
you don't need, like, the K-Gun, it was called, and was not named after Kelly. It was named after the tight end Keith McKellar. Can you imagine naming an offense after a gun right now, like in this day and age? No. You'd have to come up with a different name. But the K-Gun offense, that was true hurry up where they wanted to get the snap off. It was like what would be the basketball equivalent? Like, we want to get shots off really quick and boom, 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 boom. Like, you don't need to do that. By rhythm, just get up to the line, make the adjustments at the line, get the call in.
It's not like it's something that's novel or new. We've seen this in the NFL a bunch. I mean, the Bills, of course, employed it with Jim Kelly, but Chip Kelly with the Eagles tried to do it too. Remember for a period of time there with the Eagles where their philosophy was, if we have more offensive plays, we have more opportunities to score. But the problem with that was, if you have offensive plays that execute, but if you have offensive plays that don't hit, then your defense is hating you because they're on the field constantly.
What worked is they had the personnel to do it, too. You have to do something that fits your personnel. And that was McCoy in his prime, Deshaun Jackson in his prime. That's what made it fun. You have some personnel here with the emergence of Dalton Kincaid to get mismatches at the line of scrimmage. That's what it's all about. Like, if the defense can't substitute, get up to the line. I don't care if the ball is snapped with 20 seconds on the clock. I mean, like that's complimentary football is like, let's get it up and let's bleed the clock down. And everything. No, just let's put points up on the board.
Elena Getzenberg, always great in the Sports Bar. If you missed that, we'll get it up and on demand for you. Wherever you get your podcast, just search out the Sports Bar. That includes the free to download Odyssey app where we sound our best. And don't forget, we got our video stream up. You can watch at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch.
We have. Oh no, I was just waving to the camera.
Oh,
I wasn't like.
I thought you were saying. I was getting ready to hit some breaking news. Do we have breaking news?
No, we do not.
Oh.
No, that was just. I'm sorry. My hand signals are off here. A fumble by me on that.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got. I mean, look, the NFL news. We're looking at a Week 10 lineup here that's a little bit sketch. A couple of compelling matchups, but you've got a lot of different quarterbacks and different situations.
Well, there is one wide receiver that's not going to play. This did come over. I won't call it breaking news. We'll hold it to the other side, and it'll impact your fantasy team.
Happy hour is right around the corner as well. We'll get to that coming up here at 5 o'clock. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on The Fan.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Yeah, I mean, no interception is a good interception, but there are some, take this in context, of some that are either better than others or worse than others. And so, yeah, I mean, some of them are great plays by defense, and then there are other ones where that ball shouldn't have been thrown. And so he's learning the difference, and he knows which ones are, no, not a good decision. And then there are other ones where it's, hey, okay, that guy made a great play. And so that's life at the highest levels in professional sports, because they're going to make some good plays once in a while. But as long as the decision is the right decision, we're heading in the right direction.
God, it feels like something we said before the season even started, that this season will come down to Josh Allen's ability to make the right decision in the moment.
Normally you don't have your head coach. I mean, like, Andy Reid's not talking about Patrick Mahomes' decisions, or like Nick Sirianni not talking about Jalen
That's because
Hurts.
they figured it out,
and
they're not doing it 5 years into their career. Still, this is the Josh Allen show. This is the way it goes. That this is the good, the bad that goes with the good. That he's still. I don't know that you're ever going to get to coach that out of him. He might just always have the mentality of, "F it, I'm throwing it downfield,"
or. See, like you look at the interception intended for Gabe Davis. I mean, is it all on Allen or is that on Davis? I mean, there's been instances where the wide receiver doesn't do what they're supposed to.
But we can count two of the Bills' losses squarely on Josh Allen.
Well, number one, week one, and then I'd say the New England game because you set the tone there, dude.
For sure. Injury report for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen did practice, but you got a bunch of his teammates missing out today, including Christian Benford at corner, safety Micah Hyde with his neck injury, safety Jordan Poyer, Leonard Floyd didn't practice today, defensive end. They're all day-to-day. Terrell Bernard, with the concussion in protocol, was limited in today's practice. The other linebackers, A.J. Klein, Balin Spector, both limited in practice as well.
So Floyd was ill, so you figured, okay, whatever that is, you get well and be ready for the game. Bernard was limited, which that would be a step in the concussion protocol that you got to practice fully, and then if you go 24 hours. So there's some hope there that he could get clear, but they're not going to give you any context in there. That's, they're very strict on when it comes to that sort of stuff. I'm concerned about the safeties here, Danger. Like Micah Hyde, neck, yeah, that doesn't sound really good. And
is that the same neck he hurt last year?
Yeah, I think we only have one neck.
Oh, I was just checking to see if that was the same neck he hurt, because that matters.
What about Jordan Poyer? When did he get hurt? I didn't even realize he got hurt. So that was a little bit of a surprise on the report today. Cincinnati, they did not come out unscathed. Now, Jamar Chase is telling everybody he's going to play this week, but it appears he avoided a major back injury as taking that hard fall on Sunday night. Well, Chase could be back against Houston this week. T. Higgins has already been ruled out as that came across this afternoon. He has a hamstring injury.
That's a loss. That's tough.
I look at T. Higgins as a free agent with those hands and the way he can kind of like just frame up a football. It's like, wow, he would look great in Buffalo.
He's a wide receiver one. I mean, he has the potential to be a wide receiver one in the right situation. I don't know that he will be in Cincinnati with Chase there, and the relationship with Chase and Burrow is undeniable. But Higgins should be a one somewhere. Gabe Davis not a one.
No.
The conversation from the preseason of Gabe Davis being a one. Gabe Davis not a one.
Not a two.
T. Higgins is a one. That's a bummer. And we're moving confidently, though, with our Week 10 pick and Survivor.
Yeah,
it's still Cincinnati.
It's still Cincinnati because I look at Houston, and they are just too erratic. I go back to two. Yes, they beat Tampa and the lousy Bucs defense. Give them credit. They also lost to Carolina, did Houston 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Chris writing in. Chris not in South Central Kentucky. I think he's visiting family this week as he dropped off those goodies for us.
Oh, yeah. We got some beers from Chris earlier this week. Appreciate that.
The pick that Allen threw in Cincinnati was on him. I run a 40-hour, 40-yard, and I have the athletic ability with one of those inflatable figures in a used car lot, and I could have made that interception. Allen stared down Davis the entire time. That's fair, Chris. You were there, so like sometimes you see things when you're at the game that, looks a little different.
Right. Now, that was an interception that ended up not costing the Bills anything short of field position.
Complimentary football, the defense.
Yes.
There was also the Bengals just being dumb on offense. Committing
right. Yes. But like the New England game, the Jets game, both of those losses you could put right squarely on the arm of Josh Allen. Like, come on, dude. what are you doing? And you know what? That's Sean McDermott kind of acknowledging what we've been saying all along. I mean, we said it before the season started. We knew that last season the guy led the league in turnovers. Can he make the right decision in the moment? Can he make the right decision? The best players make those around them better by making the right decision.
Cross my mind, like, I'm excited when we go to Three Heads here coming up. To me, that feels like the beginning of the holidays.
The week from Friday.
Because hear me out, because you have the weekend, and then you come back for a short week, but are you really under a lot of stress that Monday and Tuesday? And is anybody really working Wednesday? A lot of people are just taking off that week.
Me?
You, for instance.
Yes.
Not me.
No, I don't have your work ethic.
No,
I can't match your work ethic.
Listen, we're going to be here after the Jet game. We're going to be talking to Perino on the Tuesday, but I'm just thinking, like, that's going to be a fun atmosphere out that day because it's like, hey, the holidays just began here.
Can we get you in a Santa hat?
I think it's a little too soon.
Okay. Well, you said it was like the start of the holiday season.
Now I got to do the ugly sweater.
You going to do an ugly sweater?
No.
No?
No, we would do like, hey, wear your ugly sweater. Come on out tonight.
It's a week from tomorrow. A week from Friday, prior to the Jets game on Sunday. We will be at Three Heads on Atlantic Avenue. Friday Football Talk Live, our next live show, which we love doing with you. Love when our regulars stop out to Three Heads and show support and enjoy some great beers. We talk plenty of Bills, and we've got our guest list in the works, and it's going to be fantastic.
It's going to be fantastic, and we have the strict orders. Don't give anything away, but I can tell you that this one is going to be really, really special.
Yeah, we kind of got our hands slapped for maybe saying a little bit too much than we needed to say the other day.
Which... yeah,
we didn't really say anything. We just
but-
kind of teased it.
Yeah.
You know, like, hey, it's going to be a special day. We've got some special things planned. Some special guests joining us. Maybe some special beers to pour.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Maybe some special prizes.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's Three Heads a week from tomorrow. That's a week from Friday. Atlantic Avenue, Neighborhood of the Arts. Our next Friday Football Talk Live starting at 3 o'clock. All in advance of the Jets game a week from Sunday. All right, we'll take a break. Happy hour is upon us here in the Sports Bar, 866-4326. We haven't done any McDermott McLies today. We're kind of off a day. We usually do it on Wednesday.
Are we in a mood to do that?
I've got 57 seconds of McDermott talking about Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos.
Oh, okay, wait a second. Whoop, 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 whoop. The lie detector is going off. 57 seconds. I'm going to put the over-under at 8. 8 lies in 57 seconds.
That feels very high. All right, we'll see. We'll do some McDermott McLies during happy hour next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay hot on FanDuel. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, and kick off the NFL season with me on FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
I'm Eddie.
Streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
A players-only meeting today for the Buffalo Bills. For the offensive players, the meeting led by running back Latavius Murray. Josh Allen on this week's opponent, the Denver Broncos.
They're a group that's, they're hungry to win. On the defensive side of the ball, they don't have, I wouldn't say any splash names on the defensive line, but it's a group that works extremely well together. They got guys that work extremely hard, and they work together very well.
Not practicing today, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Leonard Floyd. Floyd was just under the weather. Christian Benford in a red non-contact jersey. Linebacker Terrell Bernard going through concussion protocol. A.J. Klein and Balin Spector were limited. Week 10 begins tonight with a sure-to-be ratings bonanza. The Panthers taking on the Bears in Chicago. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
I gotta know, guys, are people panicking right now with the Bills?
You can tell there's a big reset today when they get back on the field.
Mike Danger.
Denver and Sean Payton coming off of a bye. It doesn't feel like the Bills are deserving of being a touchdown or greater favorite against anyone, given how they've played so far this season.
Gene Battaglia.
Maybe this is actually a good thing for the Buffaloes. They have an extra day here. We'll learn more about the Broncos as the week goes along here, but this is not an easy one for Buffalo.
I'm really excited that we will have the chance to preview Panthers-Bears. Actually, let me just do it right now. Who cares?
Oh, who cares?
Oh, that was a good preview.
We are junkies. Panthers, Bears, but watch anyways.
Don't do that. Dante DiVincenzo. Tommy DeVito. Tito Favors.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
Love PJ Glasser. The Baltimore accent when it comes out, nothing better.
But we got the one picked out for next week.
Oh, yeah, we already know. We already know where we're going next week. And welcome back into the Sports Bar. It's happy hour with Danger and Battaglia. I'm glad you're with us and listening along. I do have something of note for tonight's game, and this is something that's interesting that you can think about if you're planning on watching Thursday Night Football on Prime. Imagine being Bryce Young. You're the first overall pick of the Carolina Panthers, Alabama quarterback, all these accolades, and you go number 1 overall, and you lose to an undrafted Division II quarterback of the Bears named Tyson Bagent. Imagine what that feels like. There's some pressure on Bryce Young tonight.
I don't think the pressure's on Bryce Young. The pressure's on Frank Reich.
Well, Frank Reich's going to lose his job at the end of the season.
No, he's going to lose his job after tonight. Oh. I think the owner Tepper. I was reading about who knew that he also owned the MLS team. They're in their second year and they were close to 500. He cleared everybody out. Dude, you're an expansion team. What are you doing? And you don't follow MLS. I don't follow MLS. People are like, wait a second, that's not right. They were doing a good job. Does this guy not understand?
He's impatient.
If he sees his team get embarrassed, I'm sorry. A lot of people look down on the Bears, but I can see the Bears rolling this team tonight.
You don't have to apologize. I'm actually taking the Panthers to cover at 3.5. I think the Bears win by a field goal, but it's not going to be pretty.
You're hedging there a little bit, bud. Your emotions. You will roll tonight. Listen to me.
You think the Bears are going to roll tonight?
Yes, I do. And I think that gets... And I'm going to take it a step further. I think Frank Reich gets fired tomorrow because you have that little mini-bye.
Wow.
I don't root for that. This courtesy of Lord Rutledge and Adam Schefter. They put out this stat because if you're a Bears fan tonight, remember... You also own Carolina's number 1 pick.
Right, which is why this game is a giant Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
No, listen to me. You as a Bears fan, if you win tonight's game, you have a 43% chance of having the number 1 overall pick, which would be Carolina's pick. If you lose tonight's game, then that drops to 28%.
All right, so the Bears have something to play for.
Right.
Win.
This is the rare thing. You win tonight, that improves your draft position.
866-4326, our phone number if you want to pull up a stool, 585-8664-FAN. You can hear us in the free-to-download Odyssey app where we sound our best. We're on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And we've got our live video stream for you to check out and like and subscribe to at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. On Twitter, Elon's Twitter, X, Steve from Victor tweeting us, popping on The Fan Rochester for some McDermott McLies, hashtag ding. Every press conference gives us something over under 4.5.
Okay, so if you weren't with us before the break, we have a long soundbite about Sean McDermott talking about Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. How long is the cut?
57 seconds.
57 seconds. I say, and I swear to you, I have not heard this clip. I am putting this at 8 lies from McDermott. Let's play along.
Yeah, I mean, Sean does he is who he is for a reason. He's done a phenomenal job. A ton of respect. We've gone against each other numerous times, countless times in the NFC South for years, and we've had our battles, and he's just a phenomenal head coach, leader, and really smart when you get a chance to get around him and talk with him. And so I'm not surprised that they're playing the way that they are, beating the Chiefs, and then just watching their team come together the way it has.
What do you think they've done better since, obviously they lose 70-20 to Miami? I mean, what have you seen from them since then?
Yeah, I mean, again, this isn't on the outside, but it just seems like they're coming together defensively. They're holding people to fewer and fewer points, obviously since that game, and it seems like they're coming into their own just overall as a team, and I think that starts with the head coach.
Yes, 9. You gave me the one right at the end.
Yes, it starts with the head coach. Get out of here with that crap.
I have a ton of respect for him. No, you don't. These guys all hate each other. They
smart.
do.
He's smart. He's such a smart guy. When you get to know him, he's such a smart guy.
Here's the question.
Everything I've ever heard about Sean Payton, by the way, is he's a giant jerk.
I was going to go with the A word.
Complete a-hole.
Yeah.
That's everything I've ever heard about Sean Payton, the man. Complete a-hole. He's really smart.
He's the only coach to be suspended for a year. That's how much the league thought about Sean Payton. Yeah.
I've heard lots of terrible stories about Sean Payton, and none of them are good. So, but yeah, I'm sure if you get to know him, he's really a smart guy.
Never, in betting, the under's always the way to go. Not McLies.
No.
Not McLies. Nope.
There you go, Steve. The over hit. You had 4.5. Gino set it at 8. We counted, of course, in true sports bar fashion.
9 times.
That's fun. That's fun. We did also hear Sean McDermott talk earlier today about where he's at right now in terms of his feelings, his thoughts on his team. This is the soundbite that you said he sounds tired.
Yeah. Confident in our team, confident in our coaches, confident in our players, confident in our staff. Doesn't mean we don't have work to do. Doesn't mean we don't have a gap to close. And there's different things that make up that gap. And so we've got to continue to drill down on those areas and play better as an overall team, complementary-wise, and reset some things that we need to reset. You go back and reteach certain things or reestablish certain things this time of year when you're going through things. Even when you're not going through things, it's the right thing to do, and so. But my confidence remains high in our group.
That's one of those no S kind of comments. How's your confidence? Look, it's shot. Did you see that? Whoa, my gosh, what am I gonna do? Right.
How's your confidence, Sean? Well, I've talked to my therapist 3 times already this week, and to be honest, I can't get out of bed. Started doing heroin on the side just because I can't cope anymore. I can't deal with it.
No,
of course not. No, the news out of practice today was really more about what happened off the practice field. A offensive players only meeting, spearheaded by Latavius Murray.
Yeah, so Murray, and apparently he did this earlier in the year, and who knew? But the question we were kind of kicking around here is why? Why would the Buffalo Bills running back be doing this? Is it because, hey, I want to hold you accountable? Or is there just so much frustration? about this. I have this cut here. This is courtesy of Dan Fates.
Why do you feel like this was the right time?
I mean, we're about halfway through the year, and it was also on my mind, and coming off a game. We've had a few games like that, but just coming off a game like that where I just feel like we can play and we can beat anybody, and a lot of times, and it's getting redundant, but it's us beating ourselves. So how can we avoid that, right? Like what can we do possibly different during the week, whatever, how can we avoid that? How can we find something that's different amongst us so that we get a different result? So I guess, it being kind of ironic that it's a halfway point almost, but just the fact that, coming off of, just another loss that we feel we hurt ourselves once again, just worked out to be that way.
Yeah, I don't hate really anything that he said there.
Here's the other one, Danger. This is 30 seconds. Latavius Murray on why, again, courtesy Dan Fates.
Yeah, something I initiated. Just wanted to bring the guys together and just talk about some things and see how, us as an offense can, make a difference. And so, we talked about a few things, and so, hopefully it was received, and we'll, hopefully it's a, step in the right direction.
Yeah, that is dancing around the questions of what did you guys talk. You're not going to say anything. You can't violate the code in any such way in that regard. Like what was being said. Part of me would love just this to be like, hey, we're better when we go up tempo. Josh, you're the guy. Can you go talk to your head coach there to tell our offensive coordinator, let's go up tempo?
I was just thinking to myself, if anybody's going to call the offensive players only meeting, should it be your quarterback or should it be, I don't know if you knew this about Latavius Murray, but he is the oldest active running back in the NFL. So he's seen some things. He's been some places. Or should it be Josh Allen? Should it be the guy that supposedly has this competitive fire? You're this leader. Everybody views you as the leader. So it's curious. It's probably nothing, right? Like Elaine is like, yeah, it might be something, but it's probably nothing. And I kind of, when I heard it the thing that makes me nervous is whenever I hear players only meeting, I think, oh boy, there's dysfunction. Somewhere something is getting lost in translation. There's a disagreement, because if you have the full trust of everybody in your organization, there's no need for a players only meeting. You know what your job is, you do your job. Everything that's expected of you is laid out. There's no surprises. There's no finger pointing. There's no blame assessment, because everybody is in unison. Everybody knows the direction they're headed. So hearing that is a little alarming, and it hints of some possible dysfunction on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not really sure where that comes from. Or it might just be Latavius Murray saying, hey, we're at the midway point of the season. I'm a leader on this team. I've been here I've been in this league a long time. Let me tell you guys, this is what's happening, and this is what we need to do. I don't know.
It's there's a lot of room for interpretation and speculation on all this, Danger, and you're right on all that. But when does the team that has the players only meeting, and I'm sure there's incidents in sports like, hey, and then all of a sudden the season turns around and they're going to win a championship.
Game 7 of the 2016 World Series.
Okay, that was a rain delay, and that was a, hey, let's dig this out.
Hey, it could happen, pal. It could happen.
Oh, yes, the Cubs.
By the way, give it to me. I mean, come on. I've got the 85 Bears and the 2016 Cubs. That's all I have. I'm not excited about tonight.
By the way, let me clear up, just like how Tony Reale does on the show there, with, hey, who are the errors here and everything. The error was, like, there is one guy from the Cubs on that. Our friend Ed wrote in there. Who is it? Hendricks is still there.
Yeah. Professor, yeah. Completely forgot about him. Look, I don't know if this is anything. It's something, but I don't know how big of a something it is. And what is the root of it? Well, if the coaches aren't involved and it's a players only meeting, it's probably. And there was a clip that you played earlier. I don't know if he said it in this last clip that you just played, where the words "control what you can control" came out of his mouth. And when I hear that, I think, okay, so if you're a player and the play call is coming down and you don't like that play call, you can't really control it. Or can you? Because again, if you're Josh Allen and you're part of the game planning and you're this psychotic competitor, then you should be the vocal person that's saying, no, this is what we need to do. Or I saw this on film. If we attack this way or scheme this up this way or get this guy open, like be a part of that. If Josh Allen isn't being vocal, then yeah, you really can't control it. You have to control what you can control. Or you can be Josh Allen or be a leader on this offense and be a little bit more vocal.
So the only player, and this is courtesy of Matt Perino today, Syracuse.com, that commented, because Murray drops this bomb. It wasn't Allen or the coach or anybody. It was Murray saying, I did this. Like, whoa. Khalil Shakir. And so Khalil Shakir was asked, hey, what did you guys talk about in the meeting? And rather than go to the none of your business card, he gave him an answer. And I quote, the talent we have, the leaders we have on this team, making sure that every time we step on the field, our mindset is that we're all dogs, savages. We're going to take what's ours. I look to my right, and we've got Steph. I look to my left, and we've got Gabe, and we got Josh, and we got all the dogs with the O-line. That's half the story, right? Of course. You're like, why? You're doing this every day, so you don't need the coaches there?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a little curious. It's a little curious. The Bills injury report, Josh Allen still has the shoulder injury. He did practice today. Christian Benford, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Leonard Floyd did not practice today, day to day.
Floyd is under the weather.
Terrell Bernard was limited. That's good news. He's in concussion protocol, but a limited session today is progressing in the right direction, and we'll see how he reacts to that over the course of the week here, and you can't rule him out until he is symptom-free. If he is symptom-free, then you can imagine to see him on Monday night. Against the Broncos, we'll have that game for you here on the Fan Rochester. The Heavy Lift Show Monday afternoon. We'll be on for an hour before pregame gets underway at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, boy, we have the Sunday, another Sunday, like no Buffalo Bills football, and these matchups. But you're going to be doing yard work. You're going to be doing a lot of things around. You want to listen to the station. We got Eye on Football, which I think Zach Gelb does a great show. Zach Gelb will join us tomorrow on the Sports Bar, talk a little NFL.
I feel bad. Zach now, his show is on simultaneously with our show. So on the network, it's Zach Gelb. And because we're local, you don't hear Zach Gelb anymore. But he's still doing a great show. We love Zach. And I feel bad because I normally know where he stands on a bunch of things because you get the chance to hear him for an hour every night.
Yeah, we can kind of just pick his brain and just kind of figure out where he's gonna go from it. But having Maggie and Perloff now in Morning Drive, wow.
Yeah, it's a good
really
show.
Good. Oh, yeah.
Really good show. So Zach Gelb tomorrow afternoon in the Sports Bar, and we'll get one more fantasy football conversation in before we pull up stakes for the weekend. Our fantasy Goomba, Tony Cotillo, is going to stop by tomorrow afternoon as well.
So we'll try to optimize your lineups with our guy Tony Cotillo out of Philadelphia. What do they do this week? No Eagles, no Chiefs. Did you look ahead to next Monday night though? Eagles and Chiefs on Monday Night Football.
And next Thursday is compelling, too.
Yeah, you get the Ravens and Bengals on Thursday night. So we went from to, whoa, look out.
Yeah, we'll wake up again next week. This Sunday, I actually thought for a second this morning when I was thinking about all of the action this weekend, is the best football game on the slate this weekend actually Penn State, Michigan?
I'm going to go with Niners-Jags. I still think that's an excellent matchup.
It's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Well, Penn State, Michigan could be kind of fun as well.
Yeah, but if Michigan gets up by 2 scores, you're not going to see it through. I don't think Penn State has it in them to come back against.
What was PJ's take on that? I think he said first half Penn State against the spread.
Yeah,
that Penn State will come out fired up, get an early lead. They could cover the spread first half, but overall, Michigan. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back with a round of shots next in the Sports Bar.
The surprise team that is entering the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes. And no, we've already kind of covered the base of the Red Sox. We know they're interested. No, we're not talking about the Giants or the Dodgers or the Mariners.
Give me something.
I will give that to you.
Well,
connect the dots, okay?
Yeah.
There are clues as to what has been happening in baseball here in the past week. We've got that story. We do have the Big Ten here, and okay, this is going to be a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. We'll cover this about Michigan football if there is going to be a punishment, and there's a report that there will be a punishment coming up soon here. And also, I don't know if you're are making the threat about Michigan football. This so-called journalist, I don't know if you saw this, asking to have an ESPN talent fired.
Oh, boy. Okay. We'll get to that and more. A round of shots on the way next in the Sports Bar. Thanks for joining us here on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite. Sports Update.
For the second time this year, come to find out, offensive players had a players-only meeting for the Buffalo Bills today. This was led by running back Latavius Murray. Bills coming off a loss. Head coach Sean McDermott says that's the league.
The cycle of a season, right? You're going to have some days and weeks and sometimes stretches of a month where you're feeling pretty good. You're not too banged up and you're flowing. And then you're going to have some where you feel like you can't avoid it because one nick leads to another bump or bruise, and you kind of can't avoid it.
Not practicing today, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, and Leonard Floyd. Christian Benford in a red non-contact jersey. He was limited. Terrell Bernard going through the concussion protocol. He was limited, and also limited A.J. Klein and Balin Spector. Week 10 begins tonight, Thursday Night Football. It's the Panthers and the Bears. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The only way to take the Fan Rochester with you is the free Odyssey app. Download it today and follow the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
All right, back in the sports bar, it's Danger and Battaglia. By the way, last call coming up if you want to join us, 866-4FAN. 585-866-4326. That's when we utter the most dangerous words in all of sports talk radio. Let's go to the phones.
So the Big Ten, Danger, has given its notice of disciplinary action to Michigan.
What does that even mean?
Commissioner Tony Petitti could have it.
Yeah. Sounds like one of my neighbors.
I was going to say, Tony, like one of the Tonys. He could have his ruling anytime now.
Me, Tony Petitti over here.
Yeah, according to ESPN, the most likely penalties, including any suspensions, are going to focus on Jim Harbaugh and not the players. This, of course, for the sign-stealing scandal. If Petitti elects to impose any penalties, well, then the University of Michigan is already saying they're going to explore all legal options to push back.
So this Petitti guy is the Big Ten commissioner, and if I understand this right, Michigan wants to push back on anything that the Big Ten would do and make this an NCAA decision.
Right, kicks the can down the road.
Right. So legal. It's just such a lawyer thing to do.
Right. So yeah, let's have the national championship kind of decided here in the courts.
That's right.
Yeah. Penn State, you could do us all a favor, just win this week, and thank you. The Cubs are going to spend $40 million for a manager, Danger, as they did for Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
Could that be a clue that the team plans to step it up and be a player in free agency? I'm not talking like, hey, let's go buy a pitcher. I'm talking about big game hunting. The answer is yes.
Whoa.
The interest is real for the big prize. Multiple reports say the Cubs are pursuing free agent Shohei Ohtani. Bob Nightingale reports there could be as many as 10 legitimate offers of $400 million or more for the two-way star.
He's going to go for $500 million. I mean, he's not going for anything less than $500 million, right?
So Hannah Kaiser laid all this out, and if you're trying to go over the clues as to who may land and where this all came from, he only wants to play on the East Coast. Did that come from Ohtani? Did that come from his agent? No.
He only wants to play on the West Coast.
Says who? That's according to Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, because in 2017, his agent had given, we didn't even know, we heard about this guy.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
And he had 7 teams that were on the list. And see if I could do this off top of my head. The Dodgers, the Angels, the Padres, the Giants, the Mariners. Yep, I got them all. The Rangers and the Cubs. The Cubs were the 7th team. And when we learned this, hey, everybody asked Brian Cashman, how come the Yankees? No, he only wants to play on the West Coast, which that's the way it kind of appeared. Now, you have the Red Sox.
Did he say that because they weren't interested in him?
Well, we don't know, but Kaiser goes on to say that Ohtani's going to think a little bit differently, meaning it's a different culture and having that feeling of belonging. And that's how the Angels landed him, having the pitch come from Mike Trout, the big star at the time. So the sales pitch, it's not just the money when it comes to Ohtani, it's the fit and how can you be respectful in that regard. You're dealing with a different culture here. So that's going to be a part of this too. And well, at the very least, the Cubs are going to throw a lot of money here.
Would he like Chicago? I'm thinking about this. I think, well, I can tell you that Cubs fans, would love him immediately. He would be an instant success, an instantly popular with that fan base. Obviously, Wrigley Field, the history of that, good hitters ballpark, probably could. Yeah. Look, man, don't bring this up and tease me. I want to get excited about something.
I wish baseball was a little more uniform, like other sports, like NFL free agency. We know the day.
Yeah,
NBA
this could happen
free
at
agency,
any point, right?
Yeah, like baseball, it's like, oh wait, like Judge is a Giant. Oh no, that was an erroneous report. He actually went back to the Yankees. I wish baseball did this in such a way where you knew December 1st was the day.
Well, free agency started the day after the World Series ended.
Right, so we're in like it's not even late. You could talk now, but there's
right now. Tomorrow, our lead story could be Shohei Ohtani signed.
It's not going to be.
I know, but it could be.
Where do you put the over/under on when we get Ohtani news? I'm going to put it at December 15th. I don't think this gets wrapped up anytime soon. I think you're just sitting out there.
I was
waiting.
actually going to push it into the new year.
Maybe that would be it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also like wait for a dead period where there's maybe like the week between Championship Sunday and the Super Bowl.
Well, no. See, you're thinking too smart there. Baseball doesn't think like
I'm
that.
sorry.
Likely will be Thanksgiving night. Oh, wait a second. Ohtani went to the Dodgers.
Where did this news dump come from Friday on a 5 o'clock? What? 5 o'clock on a Friday, Shohei Ohtani. News dump? What are we doing?
One other baseball note here. It's highly unlikely that Rhys Hoskins is going to be back with the Phillies because the Phillies announcing that Bryce Harper is going to stick as their first baseman. Hoskins tore his ACL, remember, in spring training. He'll now be a free agent. Harper made 36 starts at first base for the Phils this season.
That's tough business, man. Tear your ACL, lose your job. There was a day, Gene, where you didn't lose your job due to injury.
Yeah. That was not that long ago.
Anymore.
Hey, Syracuse basketball 2-0 on the season.
Hey, big, huge, exaggerated thumbs up for the Orange.
Yeah, they should be. They beat Canisius and they beat New Hampshire.
Yes.
Something to watch, though. Syracuse was dead even with the Griffs last night in rebounding. Canisius scoring 42 points in the paint. Colgate will be on the Dome on Tuesday. I was doing the Fisher game last night. You watched
I watched a little bit of it. Now, full disclosure, I wasn't paying close attention to it. I wasn't breaking down the film. I couldn't even really tell you like what defense they were employing. I could just tell you Canisius had one guy in the middle that was big, and I think he was giving them problems. A big guy. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's great.
If that's the case, then when they actually do play teams with real talent, that's going to be a problem for Syracuse. I think that, and you said this, that the way college basketball is set up now with the transfer portal, and there hasn't been a lot of continuity in college basketball for a long time now, but I really don't know who's good and who's going to be good. It really is going to come down to whether or not these teams can kind of gel, because I think every team is going to have a good player or two that can wreak havoc.
Danger, finally, tell me if this is more of a drunken sports tweet or if this is just...
What are you suggesting? Are you suggesting that I can identify what a drunken sports tweet looks like?
I think we all could.
I mean, are you suggesting that I would engage in such activities to the point where I would be able to read a tweet and be like, oh, he must have been hammered when he sent that?
All right, well, I don't know why any journalist would send something like this. This is, and I didn't even know the guy, MSNBC's David Schuster. Dear Disney Chairman Bob Iger, and he's tagging everybody in this. My family and I were planning a long trip to Walt Disney World in 2024, but now we paused the reservations given about ESPN's College Game Day, which ABC oversees. If Paul Feinbaum isn't fired, our family will go to Six Flags.
What did Paul Feinbaum do?
He's asking for punishment for Michigan. Apparently, this guy is a big honk for Michigan, this journalist. Yeah, I'm sure the Disney CEO is like, yeah, congratulations. You're creating more interest for Paul Feinbaum in his take.
Your family not coming to Disney is going to cost us hundreds of dollars. I just don't know if we can make that up. Do you think we can get another family to come to Disney that day instead of your family? Let me think. Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, that would be like, I'd be like, okay, no problem. Enjoy Six Flags.
A coworker who's at Disney this week, And I didn't realize that they were on vacation. I didn't email them early in the week. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You need this done. And then I emailed them back. I'm like, you on vacation? Like, yeah, I'm at Disney with the family. I'm like, you don't know this about me. Big Disney guy. I'm kind of jealous. Hope you have fun. Oh, let me know if you want me to bring you something back. That's where I draw the line. Like, no, you don't have to bring me anything back. I'm not. I stopped short of wearing the Mickey Mouse T-shirt and the ears and the whole thing. Like, I'm not that guy.
Listen, you and Sandy and the girls, you all wore the matching shirts.
Never
walking around.
Never.
Come on.
Never.
There's gonna be some photo that'll surface someday.
Never. Here's how far I went, and they embarrassed me with this because we went down for my 40th birthday. This is right before I had my ACL surgery, so I'm hobbling around. 40 years old, feeling like I'm 80 because I've got one good knee, and they give you a button for your birthday. They're like, you got to wear the button. I'm like, I don't want to wear the stupid button. They're like, wear the button, you grump. Wear the button, or we're gonna buy you the grumpy dwarf T-shirt. You know? I'm like, okay, fine, I'll wear the button.
Yeah,
leave me alone.
Yeah, we did that for our daughter when she was 10. It was their birthday
I
week.
did it when I was 40.
Yeah,
I'm on the same emotional level as your daughter, who's now 20.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So look.
Some of us never grow up, Gene.
Last call coming up, but there are some guys that get a fast pass.
Oh, somebody's on.
Yeah, see what I did there.
866-4326 if you want to join us.
Mike in Sodas Bay. What's up, Mike?
Hey, dude.
Hey, guys. How are you? Talking baseball. I got a couple things for you.
Hit me.
Right.
I got a guy at the Yankees. The reason that Shohei was not on the list the first time is the Yankees refused to let him pitch.
Well, so that was just that's what I've been saying. That
was a deal breaker. That was a deal breaker.
Honestly, if that is true, Mike, then Cashman should lose his job.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then how this narrative just kind of like everybody, he doesn't want to play on the East Coast. No, he wants to pitch.
Right, and the Yankees were, the Yankees. They were going to dictate what he was going to do. He didn't want that. One of the reasons he ended up with the Angels was because when he first signed, the Dodgers offered him more money, but they didn't have the DH. The National League hadn't gone to the DH yet. And so a lot of that's changed now. So I think the Cubs do have a chance. And anybody I know that's gone to the stadium in Anaheim, it's a 45 to an hour-minute wait to get in to buy merchandise at the Angels Stadium because of Shohei.
Yeah.
And people are just walking out with bags and boxes of Shohei stuff. They can't keep it on the shelf.
Yeah. Well, in that regard, then the investment would be worth it for the Cubs because they already sell a ton of merch.
The Cubs, right. And so the Cubs, it would pay for itself over time.
Yeah. $40 million for the manager, no big deal. We'll just sell more Shohei T-shirts. No problem.
And Philadelphia Sports Radio absolutely believes Harper's playing first base because Mike Trout will be a Philly next year.
I've heard that, and I've also heard Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio hosts say they are out on Trout. And I'll explain why they say that. Because in their mind, and I've said this, Mike Trout is not a winner.
Mike is stunned at that. Mike, thank you for the call.
I'm not stunned. I'm just surprised. Yes.
Yeah. Their take, and I've heard this from Philadelphia Sports Talk guys in the past. Their take on Mike Trout, and part of this is, they're bitter that he went to Anaheim instead of Philadelphia.
Full stop. Part of it, the vast majority of it is like you want the comfort over there. You're not a winner,
but. They're not wrong.
No, they are wrong, Danger. You're using NBA or NFL logic. How in a sport where 1 every 9 times you go up to the plate, you can't control the outcome. What you can control is, hey, I'm from this area and I could lead the team. No, you took the comfort and the easy way out, and the money and the sunshine of California.
Doesn't sound like something Philadelphia fan wants to hear about.
No, having Harper, you want to extend his career, play him at first base. He wasn't bad at first base.
I think he was fine.
Yeah, and you're not going to overpay for Hoskins. They're going to reinvest that money. They're also talking about trading Castellanos, so the Phillies are going to have a little bit of a makeover there.
Appreciate the call, Mike.
But see, those are the good calls. Like, hey, there's a point we're missing, or I want to add something.
Cashman should lose his job. If that's true, Cashman should lose his job. That's insane.
But again, this goes back to the Hannah Kaiser report today saying, wait a second. The only person that said that Shohei Ohtani didn't want to play on the East Coast was West Coast was Brian Cashman. Connect the dots.
Yeah. That's great. Typical Yankees. All right, last call next. 866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool. 585-866-4326. We'll tee you up for tomorrow afternoon and close up shop here in the Sports Bar. Next on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for everyone. FAN 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Our preparation through this short week, done a great job as a team and as just an individual of getting the play call sheet all together, what we're looking for with everything. So feeling confident going into this game.
You know that is, right? And that's the voice of a undrafted Division II quarterback starting another game for the Chicago Bears tonight on Prime. That's Tyson Bagent going up against the first overall pick in the NFL draft. I'm just trying to make it interesting.
Well, if I'm forecasting tomorrow's headlines, if the Panthers get embarrassed tonight, Frank Reich loses his job tonight.
You don't think he gets on the plane? It's over.
Go get back tomorrow. By the time we're on the air tomorrow,
stay in Chicago, pal.
That's the time you would make a move on a little mini buy here for Carolina.
Is there anybody on that staff right now that could step up and take over on an interim basis?
I have no idea on that, though.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like there's got to be somebody
that has been,
or somebody that's been behind the scenes campaigning against Reich. Because Antonio Pierce was campaigning against Josh McDaniels in Vegas, right? He had to say something to the owner and had to be like, all right, look, this is wrong. Give me the shot. Let's see where we go.
Oh, this guy, Parks Frazier. Remember that guy? He was the offensive coordinator for the Colts under Jeff Saturday.
Oh, right. But he was also there with Frank Reich.
Right. So maybe it's Parks Frazier.
He's a right guy.
How about Josh McCown?
Oh,
he's the quarterback coach.
Oh, God.
Deuce Staley is on this. Dude, there's some names on here.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, I've got it. The senior defensive assistant, Dom Capers. Dom Capers, he's still in this league. And the photo I'm looking at, one of the worst wigs I've ever seen.
He's always had that rug, man.
Oh.
He's always had that rug. That rug is like 30 years old, and Capers has got to be pushing 80.
Oh, my gosh. There's another name on this staff. Jim Caldwell. Former Lions coach, former Colts coach.
Yeah.
Yes. He's that's the guy.
You've got guys.
You've got guys.
So if you wanted to move on, you can move on. But the problem with all of those guys is just that. They're just guys. They're just guys. But maybe they get you through the rest of the season. I don't know, Gene. That feels extreme, but it is the NFL. And if they get embarrassed, you can't get embarrassed to the Bears.
It's not about Frank Reich. It's about this hothead owner who 2 years into, this happened last week. We don't talk Major League Soccer, but Tepper also owns the Charlotte team down there, and he cleaned house. They're nearly 500. It's the second year of an expansion team. What did you expect? So, he could fly off the handle tomorrow. I could see that easily.
Bills hold an offensive players-only meeting today, and I'm glad we had Elena Getzenberg from ESPN on with us to tell us if it's something, if it's nothing, what all of it means. The practice report from Elena today was exceptional. We appreciate her stopping by. We also got some fantasy football lineup advice from our buddy Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy Sports. He stopped by in the 3 o'clock hour. With Odyssey Rewind, you can go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed for the next 72 hours. If you're a podcast listener, we invite you to like and subscribe to the Sports Bar podcast wherever you get your shows. Just search out the Sports Bar and you'll find all of our guest appearances and full shows listed for you there.
Great show lined up tomorrow, as we'll be talking to Zach Gelb, your host of Eye on Football on Sunday, as we have a Sunday without Buffalo Bills football, so we'll look around the NFL. Also talk to our fantasy Goomba, our guy Tony Cotillo.
Yeah, and tomorrow when we're talking to our fantasy Goomba, we're going to be talking about how Tyson Bagent needs to be rostered and all. No. Probably not.
No.
Hey, enjoy your night tonight. We really appreciate you listening every afternoon from 3 to 6 here on 95.7 FM and AM 950. CBS Sports Radio. I think Bart Winkler is on the way next on The Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your